Chapter 1. Beep. Beep. System activated. Game begins. Player completes the strategy. Points will be rewarded. Target must meet the standards approved by the system. For details, please click the supplementary rules. Temporary event completed. Additional special goods can be purchased. Players are encouraged to participate. Panel. Activated. Shop. Activated. Loading complete. Have a good game. Arrange the time reasonably. Pay attention to self-protection. Be careful not to be deceived. Make friends with sincerity. Stay away from the hatchet, blacked out. Toru Watanabe stared at the blackboard with rapt attention. Suddenly, a light blue, almost transparent panel popped out from the math teacher's messy handwriting. He blinked and lowered his head to write in his notebook. The expression of a set is enumeration, description, clack. The pencil lead broke. A small piece of the white notebook was blackened by the lead powder. Toru Watanabe pressed the end of the pencil, but the pencil lead did not come out. He took out a spare 0.5 mm lead from the pencil case and inserted it into the pen like a needle. Then he filled in the method of description in the notebook. During this time, the light blue, almost transparent panel was in his sight. Awakening the system? Don't you think it's too late? Toru Watanabe was reborn in a remote village, where the bus was only available once every 2 hours. When he reached the age of kindergarten, he finally gave up on the unrealistic fantasies of system, awakened after being shot by an arrow, aliens, people from the future, and superpowers. He decided to study hard. In that village, there were only 5 people in kindergarten, primary school, and middle school. Including the teacher, Toru Watanabe studied hard and participated in the entrance exam of this key high school in Tokyo. He was admitted as the 3rd best student in the school. His next goal in life was to enter Tokyo University. After graduation, he would take the civil service recruitment exam, and then let the taxpayers support him for the rest of his life. But now he had worked hard for a long time. He had planned for the future. He was prepared to endure hardships. But the system came? If it came, then it should come early. If it didn't, then it should not come. What's wrong with it? Toru Watanabe finished his math class seriously. Fortunately, the panel did not affect his vision. Otherwise, he would really be angry. The last time he was angry was yesterday when the homeroom teacher informed him that the students in this school had to join a club and were not allowed to leave school early. If he had known, he would have gone to Gwangming High School next door. Toru Watanabe became more depressed the more he thought about it. The more he thought about it, the cuter the sailor uniform. In conclusion, no matter how many times you redo your life, there will always be regrets. Toru Watanabe bluntly said to those who claimed that they could live their lives without any regrets if they started over again, that they were all liars or idiots with bad memories. Mathematics was the last class in the morning. Just as the teacher announced the end of the class and the classroom was still quiet, Osamu Kunai shouted loudly, "Watanabe, Saito, let's go and eat." The mathematics teacher was about to leave the classroom when he looked at Osamu Kunai through his reading glasses. "Can't you lower your voice?" Keisuke Saito jokingly scolded, then said, "What are we eating today? Fixed food? Ramen? Or bread?" "Noodles." "All right, let's eat bread then." "Saito, you bastard. You're asking for a beating. Ora 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 ora. Muda 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 muda." Damn it, he actually caught all of them. "Look at my demonic body. It's far from enough, Shio. Eat my hellburial hand blade." "At the back of my neck? Huijia, why are you still attacking? Didn't we agree that physical attacks are not allowed?" Toru Watanabe closed his textbook, stood up, and walked out of the classroom with his classmates under their strange gazes. These two were Toru Watanabe's friends from high school. They usually ate together and talked about anime, manga, light novels, beautiful women, and so on. On Saturdays and Sundays when Toru Watanabe was not working, they would also go out to play. When they arrived at the cafeteria, the 3 of them finally ordered 400 yen worth of barbecued meat, roasted mushrooms, salad, rice, and miso soup. Osamu Kunai ate a mouthful of rice and said incoherently, "Are we going to play video games after school today?" "I can." Keisuke Saito nodded. By the way, Watanabe, are you going to work after school on Wednesday? It's supposed to be like this. Toru Watanabe ate a mouthful of barbecued meat and felt that it tasted ordinary. Supposed to? What happened? Keisuke Saito asked. Is it a date? It's finally here this day. Osamu Kunai wailed. Watanabe is going to be the first man among the three of us. Keisuke Saito turned his head curiously and looked at Toru Watanabe. Is that so? Who is it? Which class is he from? What does he look like? It's nothing like that. Koizumi, sensei gave me an order that I must join the club today. Oh, this matter. TSK boring. Osamu Kunai continued to eat a mouthful of rice. When he finished eating, he began to eat the barbecued meat and salad. This guy is really strange. Keisuke Saito said. Do you want to come to the computer research department? Although there are no cute girls, you can play a lot of games for free. Come to the baseball department, Watanabe. Let me lead you into Koshien and become the star of tomorrow. Osamu Kunai said with great momentum. Toru Watanabe said lightly, aren't you still giving water and towels to the seniors in the second year? This is only temporary. The minister secretly told me that I will be able to participate in training next week. Is that so? Toru Watanabe felt that the salad was okay, and the vegetables were fresh enough. Hey, I'm serious. The minister really told me that. Okay, you're so noisy. Keisuke Saito said as he picked up the bowl and drank a mouthful of soup. After lunch, there was an hour of lunch break. In the past, the three of them would gather together and chat, but today Toru Watanabe decided to go to the club first to take a look. Shall we go with you? Keisuke Saito said. No need. Toru Watanabe waved his hand. You guys go back to the classroom first. Okay. After separating from the two, on the way to the club building, Toru Watanabe took the time to study the system. The words panel and shop were highlighted. He tried to open the panel with his mind, and it opened smoothly. Character, Toru Watanabe, age 15, intelligence, 7 charm, 8 stamina, 3 items, none skills, none points, 100, money, 154,650 yuan. The average was 5 points. Looking at it this way, he was smart and handsome. There was no problem for him to be tricked by a girl in a long-distance race. In terms of skills, Toru Watanabe didn't find any specialties. He clicked on shop again. Item, detector, original price, 1,000, special price, 100. Money, 100 to 1 points, intelligence, 1/100 000 points, charm, 1/10 000 points, stamina, 1/5 000 points, skills, beginner, writing 100, mastery, retouching 1,000, master, cooking 10,000, master, fishing, 100,000. Only 100 points. No matter how he looked at it, it seemed like it was used to buy a detector for some unknown purpose. Watanabe searched for a full minute and finally found the supplementary provisions menu key that was almost transparent to the point where it couldn't be seen clearly. It was obvious that there were rules in this game that were designed to cheat the players. Supplementary provisions 1. The player's death has nothing to do with the game and has no obligation to revive. Injuries can be repaired. Please explore the way yourself. Toru Watanabe looked at this clause and fell into deep thought. 2. Before each target is attacked, it is recommended to use a detector to check if it is a target that can be attacked. Detectors can be bought in the shop. 3. A new item purchase option is added every month. 4. Money has no exchange limit and can be used freely in reality. 5. Intelligence, charm, and stamina. After 10 points, the exchange points will double. 6. Skills will be randomly refreshed at the end of each month. 7. Every time a skill is refreshed, there will be 1 beginner, 1 mastery, 1 master, and 1 master. The price will not change. 8. Beginner skill corresponds to the level of a general college graduate. Mastery corresponds to the level of industry personnel. Mastery corresponds to the level of elites, and master corresponds to the level of human limit. 9. When exchanging intelligence, the player needs to choose the specific knowledge or skills that they need to be good at. For example, after choosing painting, the player will become a peerless genius in painting. with the upper limit of the possibility of surpassing the master level of 997. The player has the obligation to keep the game confidential. 998. Out of basic human rights, the player can freely choose whether to attack or not. 999. After the attack is successful, the player will bear all the consequences. 1000. All rights of explanation belong to the game. In order to finish reading the 10 large pages, Watanabe stood stupidly in the corridor between the teaching building and the club building for more than 10 minutes. After reading it carefully, Toru Watanabe had a rough understanding of the game. Attack a girl and make her sincerely agree to be his girlfriend, then he can get game points. And game points can almost do everything he wants to do. Of course, this requires a little luck. It depends on whether the skill is good enough or not, and whether it is what he wants. This is forcing the player to be a scumbag. Toru Watanabe did not know what to say about this game, but since there is no punishment anyway, there is no harm in giving it a try. So he exchanged for Detector. Detector can check female information 33 times. Just then, a female student walked past Toru Watanabe, and he clicked to use it. Chapter 2. Character: Kobayashi Kobayashi. Charm: 5. Pass, as expected of a real-life game. Looks were highly valued. Toru Watanabe put away the interface and walked to the window of the club building. April 25th, Friday. The wind ensemble will be performing in the auditorium. Teachers and students are welcome. Photography ensemble is in need of models. Free photography. Art ensemble essay contest. You can send it directly to the art ensemble or submit it by email. Email: ********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** Show off your youth and build your body. The track and field club welcomes you. The soccer club is waiting for you. Let me tell you a secret. We have a cute female manager. The wind ensemble club is looking for 2 tubas. Boys preferred. No musical experience required. The club's goal is the Tokyo University tournament. Please don't waste your time. From the information in the window, the Wind Ensemble Club was 100% an inspirational and hot-blooded high school student club. East Kyoto at 4 o'clock in the morning, practicing alone under the setting sun. Tears of joy, regret, and regret on the field. Toru Watanabe could already see their future. From the sound of it, this was what youth should be like. Unfortunately, even though Toru Watanabe was born in a village, his strength was lacking. Even if he could endure the weight of the instrument, he might not even be able to play a complete song. No, he might not even be able to make a sound. He didn't want to be a burden. Human Observation Club hiring. Activity: observe humans. Activity time: every moment. Membership requirements: quiet. Not interested in social interaction. Have the habit of leaving early. Even though he hadn't read the school's student handbook and didn't know about the rules of establishing clubs in Chapter 5, Toru Watanabe could guarantee that the Human Observation Club didn't conform to the school's spirit. Could it be a kindred interest club? A kindred interest club referred to a private organization that didn't meet the requirements of establishing a club and didn't have any funding from the student council. In any case, he decided to take a look first. He couldn't do anything by relying on his imagination. Toru Watanabe glanced at the building as he turned around and memorized the address of the Human Observation Club. At noon, there were very few people in the club building, but when he passed by the 3rd floor, he heard the sound of fighting coming from one of the classrooms. On the 5th floor of the club building, in the corner, was the activity classroom of the Human Observation Department. Toru Watanabe knocked on the door 3 times. Someone inside said, "Please come in." Only then did he push the door open and enter. The classroom was very spacious, but the space for people to move around was very narrow. There were boxes, spare tables and chairs, cupboards, and even a faded globe. A long table was placed in the remaining space. In order to save as much space as possible, one end of the table was pressed against the wall. A young girl was sitting at the table closest to the window. She was writing something with her head buried in her writing. Beside her was a packed lunchbox. Human Observation Department? Toru Watanabe asked. Yes. The girl continued to write with her head lowered. Kindred spirits? An official society? Society. I can leave early. Sure. Can I join now? The girl raised her head. At this moment, the two people who had been talking could finally see each other's faces clearly. The girl was wearing a white shirt and a spring beige knitted sweater. The bow on her collar was not as loose as other girls'. It was tied very neatly. Her face was as beautiful as cherry blossoms blown in by the wind. Her shoulder-length hair was black and shiny. It reminded Toru Watanabe of the broken 0.5 pencil lead in math class. Her waist was slender, and her breasts were small. Almost instinctively, Toru Watanabe used detector. Character: Rin Kiyono, age 15 intelligence, 8 charm, 9 stamina, 3 intelligence, observing all kinds of humans. Personally, she is not very interested in this matter. She just doesn't have anything she likes to do. Hates liars. Hates talkative people. No contact records. Can be recruited. Toru Watanabe was a little surprised. His charm was only 8 points. Not counting those on TV, he had yet to meet a male who was more handsome than him in real life. This was also related to his small social circle. This girl named Rin Kiyono actually had a beauty that was close to the limit of what a human could achieve. This is the first time I've seen a boy who dares to stare at me like that in this school. Rin Kiyono's lips curled up slightly. There was no trace of a smile, only contempt and mockery. Even so, her cherry-colored lips still made people feel comfortable. Sorry. Toru Watanabe's gaze passed through the panel and looked directly at her. Since he had a favor to ask of her, he had to say something nice. He continued. Kiyono-san, this is the first time I've seen someone as beautiful as you. I accidentally fell in love with you. After hearing this, Rin Kiyono put her hand on her chin and fell into deep thought. Toru Watanabe used the excuse of, "You're so pretty, so I heard your name from my friends." Then he thought about whether he should go to the library to take a nap or go directly to Koizumi-sensei and report that he had joined the club since he had already settled the matter of the club. You like boys? What did you say? Toru Watanabe promptly changed his words and looked at the girl in front of him in surprise. Did he meet a fujoshi? The so-called Human Observation Department was actually an organization that analyzed all the boys in the school and matched them up in their minds. Then while observing them, they would obtain psychological satisfaction. Rin Kiyono ignored Toru Watanabe's expression and said in a serious tone, "Answer me." "I don't like them," Toru Watanabe said. The girl fell into deep thought again. This time, she took a lot longer than before. Although there was nothing else to do, Toru Watanabe didn't want to waste time waiting. He said, "If you're sure that I can leave early, I want to join the club now." As for whether or not the Human Observation Department was a fujoshi camp, and who was matched up with who, it had nothing to do with him. In any case, he had to leave early anyway. Joining the club was just for show. Okay. Rin Kiyono raised her head and nodded. Although you like to lie, you have the value of being observed. I'll allow you to join for the time being. This is the application to join the club. I really don't like boys. This was the only thing that Toru Watanabe hoped that everyone would remember. Rin Kiyono lost interest in Toru Watanabe and picked up her pen to start writing again. You can leave early, but you have to participate in club activities. Also, you have to come to the club every Friday. Don't worry, it won't take up too much of your time. Club activities? Currently, you have to submit to the literature department before school ends this Friday. What does this have to do with human observation? Also, I'm not good at writing articles. Rin Kiyono didn't even raise her head as she said coldly, "If you're not good at writing articles, then write an application to leave the club." I haven't joined the club yet. Toru Watanabe looked at the blank application in his hand. Forget it. It didn't say that the submission had to be accepted. He could just find some time to write. It was much better than wasting 2 precious hours in joining other clubs. Toru Watanabe finished filling out the application and looked up to see Rin Kiyono still writing seriously. He left it on the desk and left the activity classroom. He went straight to the library without sleeping. Do you have the literature department's previous year's journals here? Toru Watanabe whispered to the librarian on duty today. Wait a moment, I'll check for you. Thank you. After a while, the librarian looked away from the computer. Zone D, at the bottom of the second row of bookshelves from the left. Toru Watanabe thanked him again. There were quite a few journals, and it seemed like there was a tradition of publishing one every year. Toru Watanabe casually flipped through the journals and found an article about a second-year high school student observing a new student. He then sorted out the overall structure of the article and wrote an article about a new student observing an old student. He definitely couldn't submit it like this. He glanced at the literature department's notice and saw that the required word count was quite high. He had to fill in some beautiful and profound words in the passage and write a few haiku lines about the future and the past. After sorting out the thoughts in his mind, Toru Watanabe gradually felt sleepy. He looked back at the ancient clock on the library wall. There was still half an hour before the first afternoon class. He pushed the journal to the side and lay on the table to take a nap. As for whether the submission would be accepted or whether it could be published in the journal, he didn't have much hope and didn't care about it. The warm spring breeze in late April would occasionally brush Toru Watanabe's cheeks with the uncompressed journal. Every time this happened, he would change to a more comfortable sleeping position. Chapter 3. The first class in the afternoon was Ms. Koizumi's English class. She was talking about the dry English past tense knowledge. This class is about the usage of insist. Toru Watanabe's English in his previous life was passable, so he was thinking about how to submit an essay while looking at the blackboard. Whenever he needed to take notes, he would write 2 lines on the white paper under the English textbook. When the class ended, he was almost halfway done. He left his seat and walked towards Ms. Koizumi, who was surrounded by many female students. He waited silently for a while. When Ms. Koizumi finally finished answering all the questions, she called out Watanabe and walked out the door. Toru Watanabe followed behind her. The two of them walked towards the teacher's office. The young, beautiful, and patient Ms. Koizumi was very popular. Along the way, students would greet her, and she would respond to each and every one of them kindly. When they arrived at the teacher's office, Ms. Koizumi sat in front of her desk that was piled with books. She leaned sideways and said to Toru Watanabe, "Is it about the club?" "Yes." Compared to yesterday, Toru Watanabe noticed that there were a few more small pots of succulents on her desk. Perhaps noticing his gaze, Aona Koizumi also glanced at the succulents she bought this morning. "You found it?" she asked. "Yes, it's called the Human Observation Department." Do you know what she's going to do?" Aona Koizumi smiled bitterly, as if Toru Watanabe had done something stupid. "I don't know. I didn't ask." Although it was rare for a club's activities to be unknown, there were many clubs with unknown intentions. Plus, he could leave early, so Toru Watanabe didn't care much. "Don't tell me you saw how pretty Keano's classmate is, so you directly joined?" Facing the lecherous gaze of the female teacher, Toru Watanabe nodded and replied, "Yes, she is very pretty." "I say you. Forget it. Let's change a club. There's no need to join the Human Observation Department." "Why? Is it not a club?" "That's not it." Aona Koizumi laughed. "Rin Kiyono is the same as you. She refused to join any clubs at first, so the school specially allowed her to create a club that she was interested in. Teacher, please allow me to create a homeschooling department. I will bring the exercise book to you. Don't even think about it. Is there no democracy in this school?" Rin Kiyono ranked first in the school. "My fellow student, Watanabe, what about you? Third place isn't bad, right?" "It's not bad." Aona Koizumi nodded in agreement and looked at Toru Watanabe with admiration. "But her father is the president of a large company that sponsors our school. I was born in a small village. I belong to the disadvantaged group. Shouldn't I be taken care of more? It's fine that the school didn't waive my tuition fees, but shouldn't they give me special treatment when it comes to establishing a club?" "Ha ha ha, you're an interesting student." The English teacher from the next class next to Aona Koizumi laughed and interrupted without any restraint. Aona Koizumi glanced at her colleague and best friend. then gave Toru Watanabe a kind and heartless smile that said, "You're not young anymore. It's time for you to understand the dark side of society." All right, but I still insist on joining the Human Observation Department. I'm very interested in humans. What's my full name? Aona Koizumi leaned closer and looked directly into Toru Watanabe's eyes. Toru Watanabe took 2 steps back. "Teacher, you're too close. You smell good." "Look," Aona Koizumi sat up straight. "You don't even know your own English teacher's full name. Don't say that you're interested in humans." At this moment, the English teacher from the next class leaned over and leaned into Aona Koizumi's arms. She once again interrupted the conversation. "Classmate, I can tell you her name if you call me big sister. Akiko." Aona Koizumi huffed and straightened her body. All right. I won't disturb your conversation." Akiko picked up her textbook and stood up. "I'm going to class." Aona Koizumi raised her fair wrist and looked at her watch. Only then did she notice that it was almost time for class. She said to Toru Watanabe, "If you insist on joining, then it's up to you. But you have to participate properly in club activities. I'll ask Kiyono." "Understood. Go to class." Toru Watanabe said that he was going to class, but he didn't go back to school. Instead, he went to the cooking classroom. It was Wednesday. The last class in the afternoon was the once-a-week home economics class, cooking or sewing. The cooking classroom was already full of people. The students from Year 1 Class 1 and Year 1 Class 4 joined together. Toru Watanabe and Osamu Kanai were in the same group. There were also 2 other girls in the same class. They were in charge of assisting, and the main work was done by the girls. Toru Watanabe was assigned the task of peeling potatoes. "Does Koisen have a girlfriend?" the girl named Yamaguchi Naomi asked. "Me?" Osamu Kanai was flattered. He had short hair, average looks, and always had a noisy personality. He had never been asked this kind of question by a girl before. Yamaguchi Naomi nodded cutely. Not yet." Osamu Kanai was no longer as carefree as he was in the group of boys. He was very shy. "I see. You don't have plans to find a girlfriend?" I should have one. Koisen is so interesting." Is it? Yamaguchi Naomi turned to Toru Watanabe and said, "Watanabe-san, do you have a girlfriend?" "No." "Really? Then do you have plans to find a girlfriend?" Before today's math class, Toru Watanabe would have firmly answered no, but now he was a bit hesitant. "I don't have to find one, but if I meet someone I like, I would still want her to be my girlfriend," he answered. Another girl wearing glasses who had been silent all this time asked, "Then has Watanabe-san met someone he likes?" "Not yet." Watanabe cut the peeled potatoes into pieces, rinsed them, and put them on the chopping board. "Thank you." Yamaguchi Naomi thanked him politely. At this time, there was the sound of a stainless steel basin falling to the ground. The sound was very ear-piercing, and the entire cooking room fell silent. "Hey, pay attention to what you're saying. Didn't you say you knew how to cook when we formed a team?" "I'm sorry, Tamamo-san, I was careless." "Stop talking nonsense, hurry up and pick it up." Yes. A few seconds later, the cooking room was noisy again. Kitchen knives chopped on the chopping board, spatulas collided with pots, and disputes between the students about cooking. "It's Yoshimi Tamamo from Class 1. Yamaguchi Naomi whispered in a strange tone. Osamu Kanai asked curiously, "Yamaguchi-san, I heard that Tamamo-san isn't popular among the girls?" "I have a middle school classmate in Class 1, and she said that Yoshimi Tamamo often takes money from the boys." The one who answered was the girl wearing glasses. "Takes money from the boys?" Osamu Kanai's eyes widened. "How do you take money?" "How else?" Yamaguchi Naomi's answer stopped at the right point, leaving endless possibilities. Osamu Kanai took a deep breath and felt that it was unbelievable. He moved to Toru Watanabe's side and said excitedly, "It's the first time I've seen AB*TCH in real life. It's actually real, not from a manga or an anime." Toru Watanabe was also a little surprised. It was just like when he suddenly heard that a girl in his class had been a mistress in society for a long time. Although he knew that such things existed and was prepared to accept it, when it really happened to him, he still couldn't help but sigh from the bottom of his heart. This world was really strange. Toru Watanabe glanced at Yoshimi Tamamo. She was wearing the same Western school uniform, and for some reason, she looked very fashionable. She was a very cute girl. Wait. Just as he was about to lower his head and help Osamu Kunai with the carrots, he suddenly remembered something. The last detector was aimed at Yoshimi Tamamo, who was still teaching the boys in her group a lesson. Character: Yoshimi Tamamo, age 15, intelligence 5, charm 8, stamina 6, intelligence, pursues fashion, obtains money by agreeing to be someone's girlfriend, looks down on ugly people, looks down on poor people. Dating record: 4, available for capture. After tasting the ordinary potato curry, the homeschool class also came to an end. Toru Watanabe, Osamu Kunai, and Keisuke Saito walked back to the classroom together. Saito, just now Yamaguchi-san asked me if I had a girlfriend, and if I had any plans to find one. Really? Of course, if you don't believe me, you can ask Watanabe. Yeah. Toru Watanabe nodded. Looks like your spring is coming. Keisuke Saito punched Osamu Kunai. Let's make a deal. Whoever finds a girlfriend first will treat the others to a meal. No problem. Osamu Kunai not only didn't care about being punched, but also happily agreed to the request. Keisuke Saito still felt that it was inconceivable. Watanabe is also here, and Yamaguchi-san likes you? Yamaguchi-san is full of masculinity. It's normal for girls to like him, Toru Watanabe said. That's right, that's right. Osamu Kunai nodded vigorously. Although Yamaguchi Naomi didn't like Osamu Kunai, Toru Watanabe was telling the truth. Although Toru Watanabe was handsome, he was on the skinny side, and it was common for him to make a fool of himself in PE class. Osamu Kunai was very good at basketball, soccer, and long-distance running, and he was a member of the popular baseball club. When he wore sportswear, his body looked good, so it wasn't surprising that there were girls who liked him. The three of them returned to class for a while fooling around. When they passed by class 1, Toru Watanabe noticed that Yoshimi Tamamo was at the back of the classroom, tidying up her bag while talking and laughing with a few girls. He suddenly remembered something. What's Koizumi-sensei's full name again? The two of them, who were originally thinking about how to ask Yamaguchi Naomi for her contact information, quieted down at the same time and stared at him with a "How can you not know this" expression? Chapter 4. Kanagawa High School finished school at 3:15. Toru Watanabe arrived at Nishi Shinjuku Station at 3:30. He worked at the supermarket near the exit. Koen Watanabe, you're here? As soon as he arrived at the store, the young female cashier Mirai Chiharu greeted him with a smile. Good afternoon, Sister Chiharu. Toru Watanabe walked into the staff room, put his bag in the cabinet, changed his uniform, put on an apron and walked to the cooked food area. Koen Watanabe, I'll go first. Keiko, who was responsible for taking care of him, saw him and couldn't wait to put down her work. Okay. Keiko was in her 20s and had been a housewife since she got married. When her daughter went to kindergarten, she was bored at home and came out to work. Every day when it was time, she rushed to pick up her daughter. Toru Watanabe was the only one left in the cooked food area. He first looked at the situation of the oden. There were only a few pieces of incomplete tofu floating on top. He skillfully took out processed radish pieces, kunbu rolls, rice cakes, konjac, and other ingredients from the cold snow area, put them into the machine, filled it with soup, and started cooking. Then it was the fried food. The best-selling pork pies and chicken skewers were almost out. He had to quickly replenish them. The oil used in the morning was still clean. When the chicken skewers were put in, yellow bubbles appeared, and a slight heat wave hit Toru Watanabe's face under the mask. Mom, I want this. It's almost dinner time, no? Ah, yes. Toru Watanabe didn't say a word, waiting for the tug-of-war between the child and the young mother at the counter to end. In the end, the child happily took the freshly fried chicken skewers from his hand, and was obediently led away by the mother who was still talking. Thank you for your patronage. As soon as he left, students wearing other high school uniforms came to buy oden. 1 radish, no, 2 radishes. Okay. He used a pair of tongs to pick up 2 pieces of radish soaked in soup in the disposable box. 1 bamboo wheel, 2 kumba rolls, eggs too. You ate so much? Aren't you afraid that you won't be able to eat later? His companion laughed. Don't worry, don't worry. The man waved his hand. Give me another rice cake bag. Okay. Toru Watanabe did as he was told. Then I'll have one too, another student said. 2 minutes later, Toru Watanabe sent the group of customers away with the same "thank you for your patronage." On the other side, someone was sizing up the fried food. What do you need? They're all freshly fried. He walked over. The customer glanced at him, then turned around and left. He worked until 7:30. Toru Watanabe temporarily left the cooked food section and put a discount label on the remaining bento boxes. The supermarket closed at 9:30. He, Chiharu Mirai, and 2 other staff members restocked the shelves. At this time, he had more freedom. He could replenish any shelf he wanted. Mirai Chiharu followed beside Toru Watanabe. Kuren Watanabe, your salary is coming soon. Do you want to go out and have some fun? Salary. How much can I get? Kuren Watanabe, for you work 5 hours a day, 3 days a week for a month, About. The hourly salary was $960, which was $57,600. It was a little, but he could save some money. He could eat in the school cafeteria and use less money sent from his hometown. Unfortunately, the 15 hours a week of part-time work had exceeded the school's allowance. He was secretly doing it now. If he found another part-time job, he might be able to save money. Toru Watanabe thought about this. He took the chips from Chiharu Mirai and placed it on the shelf. About. Less than $60,000? Forget it. Chiharu Mirai gave up on the mental calculation and suggested with a smile. There's a new karaoke shop behind Nakano Station. Let's go sing to celebrate? I've been saving money to buy a new game recently. What game is so expensive? $60,000 won't be enough, right? Toru Watanabe turned around and smiled at her. I'm not like you, Chiharu. I don't have money at home. The money to buy the game was also saved. Chiharu Mirai nodded reluctantly. Okay, how about next month? I'll definitely go if I have the money. Then I'll look forward to it. Chiharu Mirai's tone became cheerful. Okay. After restocking the snacks section, Toru Watanabe walked to the toilet paper section. Chiharu Mirai followed behind. After restocking all the goods, the 4 employees divided the remaining lunchboxes and fried food, and said goodbye to each other in front of the shop. It was already past 10 when they returned to the rented apartment. This apartment was rented to nearby high school students, university students, international students, foreigners who came to Tokyo to pursue their dreams, and so on. The price was relatively cheap, but the space was narrow. There was only a kitchen with a gas stove. 3 steps in, there was a room that was both a living room and a bedroom. The toilet could only fit 1 toilet. Fortunately, it was a cubicle and had an exhaust fan. The bathroom was also narrow, but one could take a shower and soak in it. There was also a balcony where one could only dry clothes and not stand. Toru Watanabe wasn't dissatisfied. After all, it was just a place to sleep. The size didn't matter. He put the lunchboxes and fried food in the microwave and set a timer of 5 minutes. Ignoring it, he took 10 minutes to take a shower. Then he took out the food from the microwave. He put on the DVD that Osamu Kunai lent him. His parents were afraid that he wouldn't be able to make friends in the city. They were worried that he would become autistic because he only knew how to study, so they bought him a cheap product to pass the time. He poured a glass of water and ate the lunchbox. He didn't pay attention to the animation. Instead, he used it as background noise. He was thinking about other things. With April's salary and 150,000 yen, he didn't know if he could make Yoshimi Tamamo agree to be his girlfriend. According to the market price he heard from Osamu Kunai, one time was usually 15,000 yen. There was even one time when a female high school student was willing to pay 6,000 yen. From this point, he could go to Shinjuku Kabuki or Akihabara to find these people and have them be his one-night girlfriends. It seemed that he could earn a lot of points. But Toru Watanabe didn't intend to bet his life on this love game. If the school found out that he spent money to find a one-off girlfriend at the age of 15, he wouldn't even be able to graduate from high school, let alone have the taxpayers pay for his future. Moreover, he couldn't let down his parents who worked hard in his hometown. In the end, he didn't have enough points to buy the detector. In other words, Toru Watanabe's current targets were only Rin Kiyono and Yoshimi Tamamo. Rin Kiyono had an IQ of 8, a charm of 9, and a cold personality. The detector didn't give him any useful information. Although Toru Watanabe was surprised by her appearance, he wasn't interested in such a person. He was too lazy to spend time on her. Yoshimi Tamamo had 8 points of charm, but only 5 points of intelligence. Getting into Kanagawa High School was probably her limit. Even if intelligence didn't equate to emotional intelligence, it was much easier to fool her. Plus, she liked money. This was very convenient. It was best if he could use money to solve the problem. Toru Watanabe didn't want to really fall in love. Even if he did, he wouldn't look for a girl like Yoshimi Tamamo, who didn't even have the same values as him. He decided to make a move on Yoshimi Tamamo and use money to get her to be his girlfriend. According to the supplementary provisions, if the relationship lasted for a week, a month, a year, or 10 years, there would be a check-in reward. Toru Watanabe didn't expect a year or 10 years, but at least a week or a month's worth of rewards. 150,000 yen to get Yoshimi Tamamo to agree to be his girlfriend for a month. He wondered how her market price was. Also, there were other risks in this matter. Letting a third person know about this deal. Toru Watanabe was most worried about this. From the rumors in school, Yoshimi Tamamo was very tight-lipped. But it was also possible that other students saw it. It was better to find time to interact with her and observe her for a while. Thinking of this, Toru Watanabe finished his lunch. He put the trash in front of the door so that he could throw it away tomorrow morning. He turned off the TV, pushed the table to the corner, made the bed, brushed his teeth, and went to sleep. Chapter 5. Beep beep beep. Beep beep beep. Toru Watanabe reached out from under the blanket and turned off the noisy alarm clock. He lay under the blanket for another 10 seconds before sitting up on the bed. It was 7:15 in the morning on Thursday. He brushed his teeth with his eyes half closed, washed his face, put on a white shirt and trousers, and tied his tie in front of the mirror. He put on the suit that he was not used to and left the front of the suit open. In fact, he was tired of buttoning up every day. Plus, it felt restrictive and restricted. Toru Watanabe began to miss his hometown where the bus ran every 2 hours. He only needed to wear a shirt for the school uniform. He could use his tie as a rope. Toru Watanabe put on his backpack and left the house with the trash. If he remembered correctly, his tie should be tied to the old well in the backyard. He suddenly remembered when he threw the trash into the trash can. When he just woke up, Toru Watanabe could not concentrate. His thoughts were in a mess. Sometimes he could even remember experiences that he thought he had forgotten. He yawned as he swiped his card and entered the station. He boarded the 7:30 tram. After he got off at Shibuya Station, Toru Watanabe walked up a long uphill road to Kanagawa High School. Although Tokyo was located at the southern end of the Kanto Plain and was close to Tokyo Bay, there were still many uphill and downhill roads. His thoughts started to run wild again. He thought of the beautiful girl Rin Kiyono from the Human Observation Department. She was just like her breasts. She had them, but she also did not seem to have them. Toru Watanabe shook his head and stopped himself from thinking about where to go. When he reached the school gate, he saw a team of neatly lined up guys in sportswear. They shouted slogans and ran around the school. The person at the back of the team winked at Toru Watanabe. It was Osamu Kanai. Kamigawa, go for it. Kamigawa, go for it. Toru Watanabe stood in the same place, solemnly paying attention to the hot-blooded and inspirational high school life. Good morning, Watanabe. Good morning. On the way from the school gate to the teaching building, from time to time, girls in his class with bow ties and pleated skirts greeted him. After all, she was ranked third in the cohort and had outstanding looks. If it weren't for the fact that her family was poor, the number of love letters she received every week would have doubled. Toru Watanabe threw his indoor shoes on the ground and stuffed his feet into them. At the same time, he put the pink letter of unknown origin into his school bag. He, who was no longer affected by love letters, suddenly had a new feeling. It would be great if he was a scumbag. He could casually agree to a few girls, and there would always be someone who matched his requirements. Then he would be able to get a lot of points. When he arrived at the classroom, there was still some time before the 8:30 a.m. class. Toru Watanabe buried himself in the unfinished article from yesterday. "You're so early today." Keisuke Saito, who arrived late, greeted them as he walked in. Seeing that he was writing, she asked, "You haven't finished your homework? Do you want to borrow mine to copy?" "No need, it's for the Literature and Art Club." "You're actually interested in this kind of thing? Let me guess." Keisuke Saito put his school bag on his seat and sat on the chair in front of Toru Watanabe's desk. "If the article is accepted, there's a cash reward?" "There's no such thing. Compared to earning money by writing manuscripts, it's faster to work part-time." "Then, you joined the Literature and Art Club?" "Submitting an article is the entrance examination of the Literature and Art Club. It's not like I'm a writers' organization." "Then why is that?" Keisuke Saito patted his head. Suddenly, he had a flash of inspiration and said with certainty, "I've been requested by Teacher Koizumi." "Is this matter under her jurisdiction?" Keisuke Saito gave up. "Then why? Is your brain damaged?" "It's like this." Toru Watanabe directly crossed out the wrong words. "But it's someone else." "Shio, this guy, has he finally come to this step?" Keisuke Saito picked up Toru Watanabe's eraser and took off the packaging to reveal the white rubber. He placed it vertically on Osamu Kanai's desk on his right. Toru Watanabe looked up at the white bouquet of eraser. "Saito, you're not far away." "You're lying, right?" "I, Watanabe, never lie." After the joke ended, Toru Watanabe told him that he had joined the Human Observation Department and was asked to contribute to the Literature and Art Club. "Rin Kiyono." Keisuke Saito's voice was very loud. Toru Watanabe subconsciously asked, "You know her?" "It's one-sided. By the way, is there anyone in Kanagawa High School who doesn't know her? The person in front of you is one." "Watanabe, you..." Keisuke Saito wanted to say something but stopped. Toru Watanabe didn't know what he meant. Was he implying that he wasn't human? Forget it. Compared to this, he was more concerned about the last sentence of the submission. Keisuke Saito took back the eraser and tossed it in his hand, saying, "The flower of high mountains, it's Rin Kiyono herself. Although there's no such thing as a school flower in Kamigawa, if we talk about who's the most beautiful, it's this big miss. So powerful. How come I've never heard you and Koi mention it before? Who dares to talk about her in school? And it's useless to talk about her. That kind of person is too far away from us." Keisuke Saito showed a regretful and low smile. "As long as you leave kindergarten, humans will more or less consciously divide themselves into classes. The poor will feel inferior in front of the rich, the ugly won't dare to pursue the beautiful, and so on." Keisuke Saito's disappointment only lasted for a moment, and he quickly recovered. "But Watanabe, you actually dared to approach her?" "I only did it so I could leave early." "Don't pretend. Tell me secretly, did you already fall in love with her at first sight? Although I don't think it's possible, I'll still silently cheer for you in my heart." "Up to you. Then I'll tell you about her." Keisuke Saito lowered his voice. "Her family." Toru Watanabe looked at the blue sky outside the window, the tip of his pen touching the paper. Keisuke Saito stopped talking. "What's wrong?" "I thought of something." "What?" Toru Watanabe added a high-spirited haiku to the end of the submission. "My courtyard's grass sprouts again, the infinite world is about to turn green." After the morning class ended, Toru Watanabe went to the Literature and Art Society after lunch, preparing to submit his first draft. The Literature and Art Society didn't leave much space for people to move around, but the things that occupied the rest of the space were bookshelves and display windows. There were all kinds of books and certificates displayed on them. It wasn't like the Human Observation Department, which only had irrelevant items, which could even be considered trash. Toru Watanabe looked at his reflection in the display window. It seemed that the Literature and Art Society paid attention to cleanliness. At least the glass was cleaned very well. Student, please tell me your name, class and genre of your work. I'm participating under the name of a society. My name is Toru Watanabe, genre of my work. Toru Watanabe recalled the place where the article was published in the library. Prose. Okay, please give me the draft. And what's the name of the society? Human Observation Department. Toru Watanabe handed the draft over. Human Observation Department? The Literature and Art Society member in charge of registration subconsciously repeated this sentence, looking at Toru Watanabe with an unfriendly gaze. Sure enough, he's the same as that person. That person is fine, but this guy actually dares to send the draft over. The school actually allows such a society to exist. Is there any fairness? The loud whispers behind him made Toru Watanabe a little concerned. What's wrong with the Human Observation Department? Wasn't the Literature and Art Society the one who posted the invitation for the draft? Or was it that Rin Kiyono relied on her special privileges to create a society that these scholars couldn't stand? If it was the last reason, he was on the side of the people for the time being. Name? The Literature and Art Society member in charge of registration stared at him fiercely. Didn't I say it? Toru Watanabe. The title of the article. Toru Watanabe then remembered that he didn't write the title of the draft. Thinking about it, the one in the library was called The Past of Us, The Future of Us. The Literature and Art Society member in charge of registration quickly wrote the title on Toru Watanabe's draft, and then wrote the relevant information on the registration form. It's done. Toru Watanabe nodded. Sorry to trouble you. Get out, get out. The Literature and Art Society doesn't welcome you. What did the beautiful girl Rin Kiyono do with the Literature and Art Society? With such doubts, Toru Watanabe returned to the classroom. The moment he entered, Osamu Kanai shouted loudly, Watanabe, I heard from Saito that you joined Rin Kiyono's society. Toru Watanabe noticed that the other students in the class were looking at him. That's right. He nodded. That Human Observation Society, what does it do? I'm also curious. I really don't understand what submitting to the Literature and Art Society has to do with human observation. Keisuke Saito asked. Toru Watanabe shrugged. Maybe it's to write the results of human observation in a report and publish it through the Literature and Art Society. It doesn't matter, as long as I can leave early. Can I not go to the society? Keisuke Saito asked. I go once every Friday after school. According to Minister Rin Kiyono, it doesn't take long, so I can leave very quickly. Keisuke Saito had an expression of sudden realization. It suits Watanabe quite well, no wonder you joined. I thought you were really fascinated by Kiyono-san. If Toru Watanabe remembered correctly, he had clearly said that he wanted to leave early in the morning, but Saito still didn't believe him, so why did he at this time? He noticed the gazes around him. So it's because of this. They're afraid of rumors of Toru Watanabe joins the Human Observation Society to pursue Rin Kiyono? If a poor boy like Toru Watanabe dares to pursue Rin Kiyono, he'll probably be ridiculed for not knowing his social class. The people in Tokyo really know how to read the atmosphere. Just as Toru Watanabe was thinking, Osamu Kanai suddenly lowered his voice. Hey Watanabe, my good friend, what are the requirements to join the society? No, right? Toru Watanabe wasn't sure, since he didn't go through any tests to join the society. You also want to join? You're a member of the baseball club. Even if the Human Observation Society only takes up a little time on Friday, it's still not enough. He curiously asked. Kanagawa High School students can join 3 societies at the same time, but the baseball club already takes up the time in the morning, not to mention the official club activities after school. Osamu Kanai didn't care at all, and showed a wretched expression. There's always time. Hey. Keisuke Saito was speechless. Don't you already have Yamaguchi Naomi? And Rin Kiyono isn't someone you can pursue? What's wrong with me? I'm still a member of the baseball club. Osamu Kanai avoided answering Yamaguchi Naomi's question. Man, you don't even have a bowl yet, and you're already thinking about the pot. Keisuke Saito laughed disdainfully. The baseball club is a popular society in Kanagawa High School, And the boys who can join are quite good and popular. Japanese women want to marry professional baseball players. But compared to the daughter of a big capitalist family, not to mention a high school baseball club member, even a star professional baseball player was hard to say. Osamu Kanai obviously knew this situation, and touched his buzz cut. I'm just accompanying Watanabe, that's all. Toru Watanabe glanced at this guy. You want to be close to Rin Kiyono every week, right? You know me. There are still 20 minutes before the afternoon class, let's go. Osamu Kanai slammed the table, and walked out of the classroom. Where are we going? Keisuke Saito shouted. The club building. Now. Are you crazy? Are we partners? No. But if you want to treat me tonight, I can accompany you. Okay, hurry up. Keisuke Saito smiled and patted Toru Watanabe's shoulder. Let's go, Watanabe. The three of them walked through the corridor between the buildings, and arrived at the activity classroom of the Human Observation Department. Osamu Kanai stood at the door, but he did not have the courage to knock on the door. He pushed Toru Watanabe forward and urged him in a low voice. Watanabe, come knock on the door. Toru Watanabe did not have any thoughts about Rin Kiyono, so he naturally did not feel inferior or shy. He knocked on the door, and after getting permission, he was the first to enter. A young girl was sitting by the window, holding a hardcover book with her hands that looked like freshly peeled bamboo shoots. The sea breeze from Tokyo Bay caressed her long hair. Her beautiful and cute face was expressionless, but her charming eyes rippled from time to time as she read the book. Osamu Kanai and Keisuke Saito were stunned. Kiyono-san, the literature club submission is ready, Toru Watanabe said. Okay, thank you for your hard work. Rin Kiyono nodded and flipped the book in her hand to the last page. Also, Toru Watanabe moved aside and revealed the two people behind him. I have two classmates who also want to join the Human Observation Department. Keisuke Saito, who had followed them, did not object. Rin Kiyono picked up a bookmark and placed it between the title pages. She put the book aside and sized up the two people. The activity classroom quieted down. Toru Watanabe heard Kojin Shio nervously swallow a mouthful of saliva as he spoke in a loud voice. He turned around and glanced at Osamu Kanai. Osamu Kanai's face was already red. Rin Kiyono crossed her arms in front of her chest. Although she was sitting, she looked like she was looking down at the two people. Answer one question, and you can join after you pass. No problem. Osamu Kanai replied in the loud voice he used to answer the baseball club's president. You eliminated. Osamu Kanai was stunned. After a while he stuttered. Rin Kiyono's originally calm tone became slightly colder. You came for the interview without even looking at the entry requirements. Osamu Kanai was speechless. He looked anxious and uneasy. Rin Kiyono ignored him and looked at Keisuke Saito with a scrutinizing gaze. Keisuke Saito quickly said, I've looked at it. In the morning, when Toru Watanabe had told him about the strange entry requirements, he had roughly memorized them. However, Osamu Kanai, who listened to him, wasn't so lucky. Just as Keisuke Saito was about to repeat the entry requirements, Rin Kiyono glanced at Toru Watanabe and picked up the hardcover book again. Let them go. This was what Toru Watanabe read from her eyes. Kiyono-san, Saito really did look at it. He came with sincerity. If you don't believe me, you can ask him. I hate liars. If Rin Kiyono's voice had a slight difference in temperature, it was now completely calm. An aura similar to don't bother me. It's a waste of time. Toru Watanabe looked back at the two of them. Osamu Kanai looked at him with a pitiful expression that said, Hurry up and leave. I can't take it anymore. Keisuke Saito also shook his head, indicating that he should forget about it. Sorry for bothering you, he said. Rin Kiyono nodded almost imperceptibly. Take care. Osamu Kanai immediately rushed out. Keisuke Saito followed closely behind. Toru Watanabe was also about to leave when Rin Kiyono's voice came from behind him. Watanabe-san. Toru Watanabe reflexively turned around. The girl was still holding the book. With her back to the sunlight outside the window, she looked at him motionlessly. You like me? Toru Watanabe was confused by her words. Answer the question. Rin Kiyono didn't intend to explain his doubts. Of course I do. Kiyono-san is so cute. Anyway, there was nothing wrong with saying something nice, right? As expected, there's value in continuing to observe. Remember to come to the club tomorrow after school. Rin Kiyono retracted her gaze. Close the door when you leave. Toru Watanabe didn't understand what she was talking about. What value in continuing to observe? He, Watanabe, was just an ordinary high school student. Even if he had a cheat, he still hadn't used it yet. However, he wasn't interested in asking about things that she didn't want to talk about. He turned around and closed the door, leaving with Osamu Kanai and Keisuke Saito. Chapter 6. I was scared to death. Osamu Kanai, a macho man from the baseball club, pretended to be scared. Toru Watanabe teased. Is it that scary? How can I not be scared? To save his image, Osamu Kanai said loudly. That's Rin Kiyono, a perfect beauty. Is that so? I think Yamaguchi Naomi isn't bad either. Toru Watanabe said seriously. Watanabe, don't go too far. Although Naomi isn't bad, haha. Osamu Kanai acted as if he was being praised. Keisuke Saito was a little better, but he was a little nervous. Kiyono's father is not only the president of a big company, but also a member of parliament. If she thinks we're harassing her, we'll be asked to transfer schools. No, we might even be suspended. That exaggerated. Toru Watanabe's expression was the same as when he heard that Yoshimi Tamamo was being kept. Osamu Kanai patted him on the shoulder and said, This is Tokyo Watanabe. Maybe it was true, maybe it was fake, maybe it was half true, but it didn't matter. Anyway, Toru Watanabe didn't think it had anything to do with him. There were 2 art classes in the afternoon, once a week like home economics. Toru Watanabe mixed the paint and pondered over the white sculpture. Halfway through, Osamu Kanai poked his head over and said, Keisuke, come and look at Watanabe's painting. Keisuke Saito walked over and took a look. Isn't this an ape man? The two of them laughed heartily. A lively female student took the opportunity to look over and laughed out loud. The young art teacher also laughed and said, Amazing, Koen Watanabe. You've comprehended the essence of Da Vinci at such a young age. It's so. At the end of the class, Toru Watanabe's genderless ape got a B, breaking his own record. It should have been a C, but it was too funny. Ha, this won't do. I have to leave it for the other classes to see. This was the comment given by the art teacher. Compared to the members of the art department in the class, they were indeed far inferior, even if they had only joined for a month. High school clubs weren't just for fun. In essence, they were similar to training classes in society. You could really learn skills from them. Among them, the students who performed outstandingly were considered first class in the entire society. She went back to the classroom to get her school bag. I have to gather at the field. It's my treat tonight. It's still the same family restaurant at 6:30 p.m. Osamu Kanai said and ran away. Keisuke Saito said to Toru Watanabe, I'm also going to the computer research department. Watanabe, are you going home or going to the human observation department? I don't have to work today. I'll go to the club and wait for you and Guijing. Then let's go together. Okay. The campus was noisy after school. Boys and girls chased each other in the corridors. There were also people chatting by the windows. The corridor leading to the club building was very crowded. There were students everywhere preparing to participate in club activities. In anime, scenes of 2 or 3 people in a school didn't exist. In reality, there was no such thing as saving money. In the distance, the sound of the music department's instruments rang like an alarm clock. The exam is next week, right? Monthly test. Are you confident that you'll get first place this time? First place. Toru Watanabe thought of Rin Kiyono's 8int. I'll do my best. What are you going to do during the golden week after the exam? Study and work. Want to go out and have fun? Like Akihabara? Go play with your balls? Or try out VR games? I want to save money recently. Then we'll talk about it next month. The two chatted until they reached the club building. They separated at the staircase on the 3rd floor. Keisuke Saito went to the computer research department, while Toru Watanabe went to the human observation department on the 5th floor. When he opened the club door, he saw Rin Kiyono reading a book. She was like a picture that would always be there. Sorry, Toru Watanabe said. I'm waiting for my friends from other clubs. I came here to pass time. I didn't mean to disturb you. It's okay. Rin Kiyono nodded her head indifferently. Toru Watanabe found a relatively new steel chair from the trash pile in the corner, and sat down far away from Rin Kiyono. He looked around for a while, and finally set his sights on the girl who was reading a book. Looking at her like this, it was not difficult to understand Guo Jingxiu's embarrassment when facing her. She had fair skin, shiny black hair, a slender figure, and long legs in black stockings. Except for her chest, she was impeccable. Could it be that the only thing lacking in charm was her chest? What if she grew up in the future? Wouldn't that be too arbitrary? Or would the interface update in real time? No matter what you do, you have to think about the price beforehand. The girl suddenly said. Rin Kiyono pressed down on her skirt and said, Human breasts are not within my scope of observation. Can I ask a few questions? You can understand the specific meaning behind the numbers on your chest? Amazing. Rin Kiyono's right hand touched her small chin and praised in a flat voice, but unfortunately I won't tell you. Toru Watanabe directly asked his question. What exactly is the Human Observation Department's club activities? It's what I just did. I'll test you here. People who are too stupid can't join our club. Toru Watanabe didn't mind being called stupid. After all, this kind of thing didn't depend on words. However, there was probably only one club in the entire school that allowed people to leave early. His work on Monday and Wednesday depended on it. Toru Watanabe carefully recalled all his memories of this strange club. This was the first time he seriously considered this question. Today, I went to the literature club to submit an essay. They had a lot of opinions about me. At first, I thought that it was you who offended them. But after thinking about it, if you offended them, they wouldn't all act like they hated me. At least a few girls would come to persuade me to leave the club. In other words, they didn't have opinions about you. They had opinions about you and everyone in the Human Observation Department. Why did they have opinions? The only thing I could think of was the submission. Could it be that you intended to write an essay that was better than all the members of the literature club and deliberately embarrass them? And then use this to observe their, in other words, humans, reactions under such circumstances? Correction, not on purpose. Then how did they offend you first? Rin Kiyono pushed her hair that was blown to her chest by the wind behind her back. I didn't care about those people. It was just that they were unlucky enough to become my first target. How pitiful. Toru Watanabe expressed sympathy for the literature club, as if he was reading a script. If he remembered correctly, on the literature club submission notice, it was written that the best essay of the year would be voted by the entire school. It was the literature club that represented the students of Kanagawa High School who loved to read the most, but they weren't the ones who wrote the best essay. He wondered if someone would commit seppuku. You seem to be very confident in my essay? Rin Kiyono crossed her arms and looked at Toru Watanabe with a scrutinizing gaze. Aren't you first in the entire grade? And you seem so confident. Lies. Continue to answer. Mind reading? Toru Watanabe asked curiously. Rin Kiyono tapped her index finger on her arm and repeated, Answer the question. Okay. Since he failed to change the topic, Toru Watanabe had no choice but to be serious. You are very intelligent, so I don't think you will do anything that you are not confident in. The girl nodded her head in centimeters, acknowledging Toru Watanabe's answer. Pass. Congratulations. From now on, you are an official member of the Human Observation Department. Thank you. Now then, it's my turn to ask a question. If Toru Watanabe remembered correctly, even though the conversation started with him asking a question, he was also the one answering the question. Although I've already asked once, I'm not satisfied with the answer, so I'll ask again. Do you like men? What kind of question is that? Or is it some kind of rumor? Why does it have to satisfy you? Could it be that a girl sent him a love letter, and asked him to meet her at noon or after school at the back of the sports warehouse or in the school's courtyard. But he stood her up? Plus, he was always with Osamu Kanai and Keisuke Saito. So there was a rumor that he had an abnormal sexual orientation? It couldn't be, right? Answer the question. This seemed to be the girl's catchphrase. Of course not. I like beautiful women between the ages of 14 and 35. That's strange. Rin Kiyono lowered her head in contemplation. Could it be that someone really told you that I like men? It was one thing for him to be attacked by a fujoshi that couldn't be stopped, but the rumor that Toru Watanabe likes men absolutely couldn't be stopped. It had to be nipped in the bud. Rin Kiyono lifted her beautiful face and comforted him. Don't worry. Who would pay attention to the rumors of a passerby like you? That's good. Toru Watanabe breathed a sigh of relief. Then why did you suddenly ask such a question? Are you a fujoshi? Don't you think it's strange that there's a man with a normal sexual orientation who doesn't like me? Aren't you curious? Toru Watanabe seriously looked at Rin Kiyono to make sure she wasn't joking. Are you serious? Why does everyone have to like you? The girl smiled and didn't say anything. She didn't need to answer. Her superior attitude already told Toru Watanabe her answer. By the way, if I say I don't like you, then I don't like you. You seem to have a lot of confidence in me, he said. Correction, I'm confident in myself. Since you don't like me and you're my subordinate, I'll tell you. The girl flipped her long hair. I've been able to see through all lies since I was a child. There was so much information in this sentence that Toru Watanabe didn't know where to start retorting. The shrunken blue interface, which could not be seen if one did not look closely, suddenly flashed. You have a new email. Chapter 7. See-through lies? Psychology? Knowledge of facial expressions and movements? Or a combination of the two? None of them. Rin Kiyono shook her head. When I was 3 years old, I was suddenly able to tell whether a person was lying or not. Unbelievable? I don't expect others to believe such things that are out of touch with reality. But from that time on, I sincerely hate people who lie. And at the same time I asked myself to never do such a thing. Such a thing refers to lying. Of course. This was very interesting. Toru Watanabe curiously asked. Do you like me? Rin Kiyono held her forehead as if she had a headache. Are you a fish? I just said that I hate people who lie. Do you never lie, or are you saying that you're not human? Sorry, just think of it as a boy's curiosity. After all, I heard a girl suddenly say that she would never lie. Toru Watanabe said. But in this world, there is no one who doesn't lie. So, except for myself, I hate everyone. Rin Kiyono answered without hesitation. The sun gradually set in Tokyo, and a flock of crows flew from the distance, passing over the Kanagawa High School building. The girl's cold face didn't show any signs of joking. Toru Watanabe believed the girl's words from the bottom of his heart, thinking that she was indeed an honest person, a person who would never lie. This feeling came out of nowhere. Toru Watanabe suspected that he was confused by her 9 o'clock appearance, to the point that he believed such nonsense. How could a person not lie? Impossible. A person would lie, and they must lie. End of questions. Rin Kiyono opened her hardcover book. As an official member, you can stay, but please keep quiet. No problem. The club classroom quieted down, and Toru Watanabe faintly heard the sharp sound of metal hitting the ball. The sound of a metal bat hitting a ball. The baseball club's training began. Toru Watanabe put the girl's matter aside, took out his textbook, and pretended to study. You have a new email. He opened it. Temporary event. On April 26, 1603, a girl who claims to be able to see through all lies will appear in front of you. Activity. Successfully deceive the opponent once. Duration. 1 week. Event reward. Mind reading. 1 million points mind reading? This should be a daily game. Why would there be such an exchange option for superpowers? The abilities in the mall could also be obtained by humans through learning. Toru Watanabe reopened. Supplementary provisions. Although he had read the regulations regarding the temporary event, he did not remember them. He only knew that there would be no punishment for not participating. 250. This game does not impose any punishment on players, including temporary activities. 251. Special rewards from temporary events will only appear in temporary events. The shop will not be refreshed. 252. The difficulty of the temporary event varies. The degree of danger is uncertain. In principle, players are encouraged to participate actively. At the same time, players are reminded to treat it with caution. 253. According to the basic spirit of the game operation, the temporary event reward is consistent with the difficulty coefficient. 254. Temporary events are almost impossible to complete, but there are no missions that are absolutely impossible to complete. 255. Any illegal actions taken by players in the game, including temporary events, including but not limited to kidnapping, threats, bribery, seduction, and drug use have nothing to do with the game. The consequences are at the player's own risk. That was about it. Looking at the ridiculous 1 million points for this event, he knew that it was almost impossible to complete. Although Toru Watanabe was envious of the mind-reading ability, he did not have much hope. However, did this prove that Rin Kiyono was able to see through all lies? Even if it wasn't a complete lie, it wasn't something that could be easily deceived by just a little bit of effort. Did she hate everyone except herself? If that was true, how would it feel? Toru Watanabe imagined that he would be surrounded by people he hated. Well, it would be better to stay in the countryside and farm for the rest of his life. After school, when Toru Watanabe closed the door of the activity classroom, he could not help but glance at Rin Kiyono, who was reading seriously. She was born in a prestigious family, beautiful and intelligent, but she had this stubbornness that could be described as mental illness. Unfortunately, after leaving the Human Observation Department, Toru Watanabe first met up with Keisuke Saito, then waited for Osamu Kanai, who was sweating profusely at the sports field. The three of them walked to the nearby family restaurant. The restaurant was called Bawak Cafe. It was located in a corner of Shinjuku Avenue, and was a popular place for students. In addition to Kanagawa High School, there was also a female high school affiliated to the university, and a normal high school nearby. The three schools often held various activities together. When the three of them arrived, there were already many people sitting in the family restaurant. There were families of men and women, old and young, but most of them were students wearing the uniforms of the three schools. The restaurant had a variety of Japanese set meals, Western steaks, and pasta dishes from various countries. There was a wide variety of dishes, and not only were the prices cheap, but you could also order whatever you wanted. Toru Watanabe ordered soba noodles, Keisuke Saito ordered ramen, and Osamu Kanai ate a lot. Other than ramen, he also ordered steak and fries. After a few bites, Keisuke Saito said, "Watanabe, how does it feel to be alone with Rin Kiyono?" Osamu Kanai mumbled with a mouthful of noodles in his mouth. Men always talked about these things. Toru Watanabe picked up some soba noodles, rolled it in the soup, and sucked it into his mouth. The taste was average, and it was not as chewy as the noodles made by his mother in the countryside. After that, he answered the two curious people. "She hates me." "You didn't do anything, did you?" Keisuke Saito asked in surprise. "I just did something that any human would do." Osamu Kanai finally swallowed the food. "You did something? Aren't you afraid of death? You even dare to do something to Rin Kiyono?" Tetsumasa Watanabe was about to explain when he saw a familiar figure at the bar. "I'll go get some drinks." He picked up a glass and stood up. "Pour me a glass too." Osamu Kanai finished his soda and handed the glass to him. Toru Watanabe held two glasses and stood at the back of the line. In front of him was a female high school student. She had a perky butt and a slender waist like a model. She was bored of waiting in line, so she was twirling her hair around her fingers to pass the time. "Tamamo-san, you're here to eat too?" The greeting didn't have much enthusiasm, but it was natural and gentle. It was very pleasant to the ears. Yoshimi Tamamo subconsciously turned her head. It was a very handsome boy. He was also wearing the uniform of Kanagawa High School. Even if he wasn't wearing the uniform, Yoshimi Tamamo still recognized him. Kanagawa High School's famous handsome boy, a top student, and a poor guy from the countryside. Although Yoshimi Tamamo hated poor people, she liked his appearance, so she showed a charming smile. What a coincidence, Watanabe. Toru Watanabe said happily. I was about to introduce myself, but I was worried that Tamamo-sen wouldn't recognize me. Yoshimi Tamamo violated the school rules by getting transparent fingernails and put them on her sexy lips. How could that be? Watanabe, you're Kamigawa's most handsome boy. You've caused a lot of discussion among the girls. Is that so? Tamamo-san is the same among us boys. Is that true? What are they saying about me? Most people are curious about how the opposite sex talks about them, especially those guys with good looks. Toru Watanabe looked at Yoshimi Tamamo in front of him and thought. Except for Rin Kiyono. She shouldn't have the time and thought to inquire about the opinions of those annoying guys. At this time, the person in front of him just finished getting the drinks and left. Toru Watanabe lowered his voice and said in a voice that was twice as pleasant to hear. We're all discussing that Tamamo-san can be kept as a mistress, but we don't know how much it will cost per month. Chapter 8. With that, Toru Watanabe put on a worried expression. Tamamo-san, there are bad rumors about you everywhere. Yoshimi Tamamo stopped smiling and muttered to herself angrily, one by one. Tsk. It's better to clarify things like this. If the school finds out, they might inform our parents. It's none of your business. Yoshimi Tamamo raised her head and snorted with annoyance in her eyes. With that, she turned around, put the glass under the tap, and pressed the button for orange juice. Even though she had already made it clear that the conversation was over, Toru Watanabe didn't give up. It was difficult for him to have any contact with her at school. This kind of rumor isn't good for girls. I really don't want it to have anything to do with Tamamo-san. The restaurant was brightly lit. There was probably a black cola drink on the bar, which reflected Toru Watanabe's face. The young and handsome boy was sincere. He never thought that he had a talent for acting. Why are you so concerned about me? This is the first time we're talking, right? Yoshimi Tamamo's glass was already full. She gave her seat to Toru Watanabe, but she didn't leave. Toru Watanabe stepped forward and put Osamu Kanai's glass under the soda. That. I read in a book that there are some people who have always been good friends, but when one of them confesses, the two of them can't become lovers. There are also some people who can easily become lovers after a few words, even though they haven't spoken a single word. Yoshimi Tamamo frowned. People with good grades are always awkward when talking. Just say what you want to say. What I mean is, Toru Watanabe looked directly at her. Even though we haven't spoken, I want to become lovers with Tamamo-san. Huh? Confess? Here? Yoshimi Tamamo pointed at the bottom of her foot with the index finger of the hand that wasn't holding the glass. She had never heard of anyone confessing in the family dining room. Even if other people had such an experience, they wouldn't be like Toru Watanabe. They clearly hadn't spoken to each other, but when they bumped into each other after school, he took advantage of the time he took to pick up a drink and told her about it. He actually believed it. That was what Toru Watanabe thought. However, people with 8 points of charm were probably used to being confessed to. They were confident enough to believe that the others weren't joking. For example, Toru Watanabe himself had a love letter in his school bag that he had received from the shoe cabinet in the morning. I'm sorry, Toru Watanabe quickly said. I didn't want to say this at first. I just wanted to remind Tamamo that I've been hearing bad rumors about you recently. By this time, Osamu Kanai's cup had already overflowed. He hurriedly replaced it with his own cup. Yoshimi Tamamo watched this scene with great interest. Her fingers twirled around her hair. She glanced left and right. After confirming that no one was coming over, she said, I'm telling you this isn't a rumor. Do you still like me? How much? What? Toru Watanabe picked up his drink and looked seriously at Yoshimi Tamamo's eyes that were wearing contact lenses. Even if it costs money, I want to be Tamamo's lover with you. Yoshimi Tamamo's eyes widened for a moment. She looked up and down at Toru Watanabe suspiciously. Are you serious? I have 150,000 yuan on me. I don't know much, but even if it's only for a month, I'm willing. 150,000 yuan a month. Okay. I'll lower your voice. Someone sitting at a table near the bar turned to look at them. Toru Watanabe whispered, Is that really okay? Yes, yes. Yoshimi Tamamo spread her hands. Hurry up and give me the money. My friend is still waiting for me. I don't have it with me. How about this, let's add each other as line friends. I'll find a chance to give it to you tomorrow. Okay, no problem. Yoshimi Tamamo took out her phone and looked at Toru Watanabe, who hurriedly put the drink in his hand on the bar and quickly took out his phone from his pocket. This poor guy doesn't think that I can do that kind of thing just because I'm his girlfriend, right? Ha ha ha. People from the countryside are so pure. I have money to go out and play during the Golden Week. Wait. This poor guy's grades are good. No, he should be one of the best. If I don't pass the exam at the end of the month, can I get him to tutor me? If it's a date, this kind of nerd should be very happy. Yoshimi Tamamo almost laughed. She hurriedly took a sip of the orange juice in her hand. She felt that she had made another deal with a very high return. The two of them added each other as line friends. Toru Watanabe's ID was Toru Watanabe. Because he didn't want to add anyone other than his family and friends, he didn't need to use other IDs to hide himself. Moreover, it was too difficult to find a good ID nowadays. It wasn't worth wasting too much time on this matter. If he had the time, he might as well work, do a math problem, or memorize the steps of a chemistry experiment. Look. Yoshimi Tamamo stretched the phone screen in front of Toru Watanabe. On the screen, his ID was Toru Redheart. This was Yoshimi Tamamo's little trick. According to her experience, pure boys would be happy for a week because of this little thing. Toru Watanabe was too shy to say anything. From now on, I'm Toru's girlfriend. Is that really okay? I haven't given you the money yet. At this point, Toru Watanabe felt that he was out of touch with reality. He actually became one of the people who spent money to buy a girlfriend. What a wonderful life experience. It's okay, it's okay. I'll give it to you for a day. But remember to give me the money tomorrow. Okay. But can we not let other people know about our relationship? Toru Watanabe hadn't said, we're dating before. He couldn't say it fluently for a while. His values and Yoshimi Tamamo's values were indeed very different. Don't worry, I won't let the rumors affect you. Let's chat tonight, bye. It was best if they didn't announce it. He could find two idiots at the same time. Yoshimi Tamamo shook the phone in her hand, indicating that they would chat online later. Then she chuckled and walked away. You have a new email, 150,000 yuan. If the reward didn't exceed the cost, Toru Watanabe would feel guilty to his parents in the countryside who gave him the money. As for Yoshimi Tamamo being his girlfriend for a month, to him, he should focus on the cost. Now was not the time to study the game. Osamu Kunai, who was waiting anxiously, was already looking over. Why were you gone for so long? There were a lot of people. I had to queue. Thanks. Anyway, you're treating. It's my duty to run errands. After dinner, because the monthly beta test was approaching, the three of them didn't mention where to go, and went their separate ways at the entrance of the restaurant. After swiping his card and entering the station, Toru Watanabe went up to the platform and leaned his back against the railing of the stairs, waiting for the arrival of the tram home. Yoshimi Tamamo's strategy completed. Player received 5,000 points. Activate sign-in function. Number of sign-in days. Yoshimi Tamamo 1 day 5,000 points, a subtle number. It could buy 5 detectors, or exchange for some stamina, or have beginner-level writing and master-level photo editing. It didn't seem useful, but considering that the cost was only 150,000 yuan, and there were subsequent sign-in rewards, it was very worth it. Of course, Toru Watanabe's charm, his reputation as the third in the grade, and his outstanding acting skills were also costs, but they were more intangible, so they weren't counted. The exchange rate for game points was 100 yuan per point, so 5,000 would be 500,000 yuan. It was impossible for him to work, not in this lifetime. He didn't know how to do business, and he was young. He could only barely maintain his life by constantly finding a girlfriend to earn points. This was the first sentence that popped up in Toru Watanabe's mind. Of course he was joking. A gentleman who loved money earned it in a proper way. What was the difference between him and Yoshimi Tamamo? He didn't look down on Yoshimi Tamamo. Everyone had their own way of survival. Rin Kiyono's misanthropy, let's call it that for now. As for Yoshimi Tamamo's trade for money, as long as it didn't get in his way, he didn't have any opinions, nor did he have the right to criticize. But he had to walk on the right path. He was the hope of his village. He grew up eating the rice watered by his parents' sweat, and he had put in a considerable amount of effort for his studies. How could he be corrupted by a game? But if he gave up on the game just like that, he would be pedantic and a fool, and he would let down his parents' kindness in raising him. The trade with Yoshimi Tamamo was essentially exchanging money for points. The two of them didn't cheat on their feelings, and they wouldn't have physical contact. After a month of sign-in, they wouldn't have any contact with each other. In the future, except for the person he really liked, he would find someone like Yoshimi Tamamo for his other targets. After making up his mind, Toru Watanabe spent 1,000 points to buy a detector, and saved the remaining 4,000 points. A strong wind blew into the station, messing up Toru Watanabe's hair. He blended into the crowd and walked into the carriage. This was Tokyo. There were plenty of people like Yoshimi Tamamo on Kabuki Street, Akihabara's secret shops, and so on. It's the golden week after the exams. I'll try my luck around Shinjuku, Toru Watanabe thought to himself as his body swayed along with the carriage. Chapter 9. Wuyue, please advise me, Suki-kun. After this sentence, a rabbit stretched out its hand to the screen, which should be a greeting emoticon. At 10 o'clock in the evening, Tetsumasa Watanabe was doing a math problem when his phone vibrated. He received a message from someone with the ID Coco online. After he opened line, he saw the above content. Toru Watanabe. Sorry, I am studying now. After 3 seconds, the message showed read. Line is really terrible, especially the read function. And the group will also show how many people have seen a message. It doesn't give the lurkers any room to survive. Coco. You are so hardworking, you are really amazing asterisk, asterisk Toru Watanabe. After all, the exam is next week. Coco. Then I will not bother you, good luck. Asterisk, / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / Toru Watanabe has already put down his phone, but after thinking for a while he sent a new message. You too, good luck. Good luck. Toru Watanabe immediately received an emoticon with an unknown meaning. He buried his head and continued to study. Although it was only the first year of high school, even if it was his second time studying, it was still quite difficult to get the first place. Not to mention, the previous first place Rin Kiyono's intelligence was higher than his. He didn't have to get the first place, but he had a higher goal to keep studying hard and get admitted to Tokyo University. He studied until 12 o'clock. After finishing a set of chemistry problems, Toru Watanabe moved his body, turned off the desk lamp, and went to bed. Every Friday as a student, Toru Watanabe's body would naturally be excited. Tomorrow I can finally sleep in. Because today he was on duty. He came earlier than usual. When he arrived at school, he almost didn't see anyone, but he could already hear the sound of the music. It was obviously close to the exam, but they were still working hard. Toru Watanabe sincerely wished them to get a good result in the Tokyo University competition and get a place in the national competition. He found Yoshimi Tamamo's shoe cabinet and put the 150,000 yen envelope in it. After settling this matter, he heaved a sigh of relief. Now he and Yoshimi Tamamo really didn't owe each other anything. Next was the work of the student on duty. First, he went to the office to find the English teacher Aono Koizumi, who was also the class tutor. He took the key, opened the classroom door and windows, checked if there was enough chalk, etc. If it was winter or summer, he was responsible for turning on the heater and air conditioner. As the exam approached, the teachers who had been taking their time in class also quickened their pace. This question will definitely be in the exam next week. Remember it. Are you still sleeping? Do you still want to go? Let me tell you, if your results are not ideal, we will call your parents over for a discussion. Here you should know everything. Let's look. The first class was the first class in the afternoon class. The PE teacher gave a simple demonstration of how to set the ball, serve, and so on. Then it was the game. Toru Watanabe didn't understand why there was a competition in every PE class. Watanabe, watch me slam dunk. Osamu Kunai jumped up, puffed out his chest, raised his head, and extended his stomach. His elbows were bent backward, and his whole body was arched backward. Toru Watanabe had a hard time setting up the ball, let alone a big slam dunk. He dodged decisively. The volleyball made a loud noise on the ground, then suddenly bounced up and hit the barbed wire fence around the field. Can you use less strength? Toru Watanabe shouted. On the other side of the net, Osamu Kunai assumed the posture of a senior. Listen up, Watanabe. The so-called volleyball is to jump up no matter what position you're in. No matter what position you're in, the ball has to be dunked down. Don't use the lines from Volleyball Boy to show off, you bastard. Toru Watanabe picked up the ball and hit it with a standard serving posture. It hurts. The moment his hand touched the ball, he felt a sharp pain. The volleyball that he hit with all his strength did not pass the net. It bounced weakly on Toru Watanabe's half of the field for a while. Toru Watanabe simply raised his hand. I admit defeat. It's not easy to stand on this field. How can it end so easily? Their classmates, who were pushing the volleyball back and forth with their hands, were attracted by Guoxio's loud voice. The two of them became the focus of the court. Don't say the lines from the anime out loud. It was really unbearable. Was he a Chinibyu? No, in terms of age, it was more appropriate to say he was a Chinibyu. After the PE class, during the last class, Toru Watanabe did not even look cool when he twirled his pen. When he wiped the blackboard after school, his wrist would tremble slightly when he straightened it. That was why he hated sports. Not to mention sweating all over. His whole body would be so sore the next day that he could not do anything. As for slowly getting used to it, who would want to get used to this kind of thing? Moreover, as long as he did not practice for a period of time, his body would return to its original state. Who could guarantee that he would be able to persevere? In the future PE class, I'll be in the same group as Saito. Toru Watanabe thought on his way to the club building. Opening the club classroom door, Rin Kiyono's appearance of reading seemed to have completely integrated with the indoor scenery. It was simply an inseparable fixture in this classroom. No matter what you have to do, whether you're coming or not, please state the reason in advance. The decoration spoke. Sorry, I'm on duty today, so I'm a bit late. Toru Watanabe sincerely apologized. He hated people who were not punctual, so he tried not to make others wait. If someone was late without a proper reason, he would still be angry in his heart. Now he was dissatisfied with his behavior, and warned himself that even if it was just to cope with the school's rules, he could not slack off. It seems that you didn't lie to escape. Rin Kiyono did not say whether she forgave him or not. Instead, she said this. Didn't you say that you hate people who lie? I don't want to continue to be hated by you. Toru Watanabe closed the door, sat down on the steel chair that he found yesterday, and hung his bag on the corner of the long table. You can't hold on for 2 sentences, and then you start to lie. I have reason to suspect that you have a personality problem. Toru Watanabe, who was said to have a personality problem, denied. Wait, I'm just joking. In fact, he was trying to see if he could complete the temporary event. Even if he could not get 1,000,000 points, it would be good to get the opportunity to buy the mind-reading technique first. Rin Kiyono did not comment. She just closed the hardcover book that seemed to never be finished, and prepared for a meeting. Toru Watanabe had to admit that such a cute person like Rin Kiyono, even if she did not smile and did not cooperate with the male humor, she was still beautiful and attractive enough. But compared to her appearance, he was more concerned about how to deceive her. He respectfully pretended to listen attentively to create a serious atmosphere between the two of them to pave the way for the next attack. Rin Kiyono might not have noticed it, or she might have, but it did not matter. Her expression and attitude did not change at all. She took out a stack of names. These are the names of all the members of the Literature and Art Club. Note down the names of the members of the Literature and Art Club in your class, family class, and elective class. Observe their reaction to you. Family class was a combination of two classes, and elective classes were art, music, and calligraphy. Toru Watanabe chose art. Are you serious? Toru Watanabe looked at the thick list. Other than the name and class, there was also the person's picture. Where in the world did he obtain this kind of thing? Toru Watanabe once again felt the darkness of the capitalist society. Forming a club was one thing, but even personal information was not spared. Even if your brain is only good enough for exams, at least remember the names of your peers. This is the foundation of the future activities of the Human Observation Department. But I can't even remember the names of half the people in my class. This was an exaggeration. It was just that a few inconspicuous classmates did not remember. Then take this opportunity to remember the names of all the students in this school. What? This request was so ridiculous that Toru Watanabe suspected that he had misheard. As a member of the Human Observation Department, remembering the names of your peers is only the foundation. Only by remembering the names of all the students in the school can you be considered qualified. Rin Kiyono pushed the list over. Is this a joke? The girl gently brushed her neat long hair, crossed her arms in front of her chest, and snorted softly. Well, it did not seem like it. Also, the game did not send an email. It seemed that the exaggerated lie had also failed. What happens after observing their attitudes? He asked as he used his brain to memorize the list in his hand. Defeated in the area they are most proud of, regret, anger, unwillingness, or giving up. Let's look at the ratio first. Toru Watanabe looked up. Why do I feel like you thought of this at the last minute? You just need to complete the task I give you. The girl crossed her arms and looked at him coldly like a superior. All right, whatever you say. When the setting sun dyed the room orange, Toru Watanabe finally memorized the names and faces of all the first-year students. It took him more than an hour. Wasn't it supposed to be a simple meeting on Friday? Why did it take so long? Was this considered a lie? Also, what was the point of the rigid school rules that required everyone to join a club? Did she really think that every student would seriously join a club to enjoy their youth or learn a certain skill? Toru Watanabe tidied up the list in his hand. I've memorized all of them. Rin Kiyono, who was reading, gestured with her chin towards the corridor. Was she implying that he could leave now? Since he was already here and had wasted so much time, how could he give up so easily? Kiyono classmate, I'll definitely surpass you in this exam and get first place. Rin Kiyono's gaze didn't move away from her book. Toru Watanabe couldn't tell from her tone whether she was wondering why he wasn't leaving, or why she suddenly declared war. Maybe you don't know, but I actually got third place in the whole school. I've been studying very hard recently, and I'm confident that I'll get first place. Rin Kiyono looked at Toru Watanabe, her tone even colder. You've been lying since just now. Are you trying to test my patience? Let me tell you clearly, although I don't care about many things, I'm generally not easy to talk to, and it has nothing to do with being gentle. If you're trying to use the stupid trick of abducting other female students on me, I advise you to give up. Her sudden seriousness caused Toru Watanabe to be dazed for a moment. He even wondered if he had done something wrong. Sorry, I was just curious. I wanted to test if Kiyono classmates' words about being able to see through all lies were true. I didn't mean anything else. This sentence should be true. Toru Watanabe wasn't completely sure. Although he wanted to complete the temporary mission, he was still doubtful of Rin Kiyono's ability. After all, the additional rules clearly stated that there was no mission that was impossible. So he should have thought of testing her, right? But now even a half-truth joke was seen through. Could it be that he really had to use drugs? But such a convenient drug, where would he get it from? Someone like you. Rin Kiyono smiled, but the scary thing was that there wasn't the slightest hint of a smile. You're really lying all the time. I lied. Just now? Rin Kiyono's smile disappeared and she said coldly, You mean I'm lying? I don't understand myself anymore. This was Toru Watanabe's thought at this moment. I think you can go take a lie detector test and help the police solve cases, he sincerely suggested. No matter how hard a person works, how much can they change the world? Also, you don't have to worry about my career path. Rin Kiyono retracted her cold gaze. Can you please leave? The stench of lies on your body makes me uncomfortable. The stench of lies? Okay, I'll leave first today. Then the girl thanked him very politely. Toru Watanabe almost suspected that there was a stench on his body. Chapter 10. After the end of the monthly test, it was the short holiday known as the Golden Week, which lasted from April 29th to May 5th. Toru Watanabe went to Kyoto on the day when the cherry blossoms were in full bloom. In the blink of an eye, the cherry blossoms had withered and the trees were covered with green leaves. A month had passed. It was time to plant rice in his hometown. Every year during this season, Toru Watanabe's parents in this world would go out to plant rice at 4 in the morning. Other than coming back to rest at noon, they would spend the rest of the day in the fields. When he was young, because he was smart, his parents loved him. Even if he wanted to help, he would be asked to stay at home to read or play. When he grew a little older, the village bought a rice transplanter. His physical strength was also wasted, and he couldn't help with weeding even if he wanted to. He couldn't bend over for long periods of time, and the sharp weeds could easily cut his skin. The leeches greedily sucked his blood, and the gadflies circled above his head annoyingly. Actually, I can still plant potatoes. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that he was useless except for studying. Toru Watanabe defended himself. Although planting potatoes only required cutting, digging, burying, and then picking up dead leaves from the mountains to lay on top. Before the holiday, Toru Watanabe called his family and said that he would stay in Tokyo to work during the Golden Week. He would go back during the summer break. Putting on his private clothes, Toru Watanabe took the tram to Shinjuku Street and found the Waltz clothing store where he worked. Is your name Toru Watanabe? Your job is to stand at the intersection and hold up the billboard. If you are tired, you can rest for a while, but not for too long, understand? Understood. The intersection where the Waltz clothing store was located was the entrance to Shinjuku Bar Street. Standing here, he could observe almost all the women going in and out. But holding up the billboard for a few hours, Toru Watanabe originally wanted to find a job as a traffic surveyor, sitting there and using a counter to count pedestrians and vehicles. Unfortunately, there were no such coincidences in the world. There were part-time traffic surveyors, but not in this street. If he didn't look for a job, as a high school student, he would definitely be questioned by the police if he stayed close to the red light district. Moreover, he could earn money while looking for a job. He only had about 4,000 yuan left. This kind of hard labor earned much more than the employees in the mall. Although he had points that could be exchanged for a lot of money, he wanted to save them to exchange for intelligence, stamina, and charm. There were still 2 days until May, so maybe he would have the skills he wanted by then. Toru Watanabe held up the billboard and stood at the entrance of the busy street. Other than him, there were already people wearing dolls and handing out flyers. These people were doing the same job. There were many people coming and going, and it was unrealistic to use detector on every woman that passed by. Not young, not pretty, not single, not open enough in dressing up, not open enough, not open enough. Handsome, do you want to go to the coffee shop together? Shinhue, this little handsome guy looks like a high school student. It's fine as long as he's handsome. He might even be a virgin. Toru Watanabe looked at the woman who was flirting with him. Her shirt was open, and her collarbone was exposed boldly. She was very attractive and looked pretty. Character: Kurodayuki, charm 5 pass. Sorry, I'm working. If you need to buy clothes, please visit Waltz. After saying this, Toru Watanabe bowed and walked away. He was fooled by makeup skills. Based on Fengyu's estimation, his charm should be 6 points. The woman called Kuroda Yuki wanted to follow Fengyu, but she was pulled away by her friend who shouted, "There are police here." The female university student who was handing out flyers smiled and said, "You are so popular. I just want to work quietly. Toru Watanabe smiled bitterly. This female university student was also the same. Since the first time they met, she had been looking for opportunities to talk to Fongyu. Is it popular in Tokyo to date younger men? Or is it only because he is handsome? Since young, Toru Watanabe grew up in a remote village. There were only 5 teachers and students in his school, and their ages ranged from primary 1 to 3. Toru Watanabe had never been so popular. After he came to Tokyo, he received all kinds of love letters. Fongyu suddenly remembered a line from Makoto Shinkai's movie Your Name in his previous life. Please let me be a handsome guy in Tokyo in my next life. Maybe this is the life of a handsome guy in Tokyo? Is it just him making a fuss over nothing? I have to get used to my new identity. His legs were sore and he could not lift his arms. Toru Watanabe used 3 chances and did not find a single target. He tried to pick the most beautiful woman to use detector. Except for Kuroda Yuki, who took the initiative to hit on him. The other 2 had 6 points and 7 points respectively, but they all showed pass. Fongyu did not know if the charm needed to reach 8 points, or if there were other hidden conditions besides charm. Fongyu sent the billboard back to the store and received his salary for the day. Normally, it would not be paid daily, but it was possible for temporary work during the Golden Week. He worked for 4 hours and received a total of 5,200 yuan. The hourly wage of 1,300 yuan was very high, but the work was also very hard. Toru Watanabe felt that if he continued this work, it would only be a matter of time before his stamina increased to 4 or even 5 points. But he was still too naive and underestimated society. Women in society, especially those who went to bars in Shinjuku, were all good at makeup. Their appearance was generally higher than normal. Fongyu could not even tell if he was a woman without makeup. Coming here to find a target was purely a waste of points and time. It was better to be in school, where makeup was prohibited. No matter how vain the female students were, they only dared to wear light makeup and dye their hair slightly brighter. Women above high school all passed. Toru Watanabe knew that as long as a woman graduated from high school, she would undergo earth-shattering changes like a silkworm turning into a butterfly. Thus he made up his mind. He spent 1,000 points on the detector. Including the money he spent on lunch at night, which was provided by the clothing store, he lost more than 9,000 yuan in one day. Therefore, for the next 6 days of the Golden Week, except for going to Akihabara with Osamu Kanai and Keisuke Saito, Toru Watanabe worked and studied. He no longer went to Shinjuku Kabuki to waste his points. During this period, in the early morning of May 1st, the game store refreshed. Items: detector, 1 for 1,000. Healing medicine, 1 for 1,000. Money, 100/1 point. Intelligence, 1/100, 000 points. Charm, 1/10, 000 points. Stamina, 1/5, 000 points. Skills: beginner, flower arrangement, 100. Proficient, cooking, 1,000. Proficient driving, 10,000. Master, kickboxing, 100,000. Toru Watanabe carefully studied the new item, healing medicine. As its name suggested, it could only heal injuries, but not diseases. But it was not bad. As long as he did not die immediately and had points, he could survive. The first clause of the supplementary rules, the death of the player has nothing to do with the game, and there is no obligation to revive, always gave him the feeling that this was not a simple love game. In short, it was better to be prepared. Next were the 5 skills for this month. Except for the cooking skill, the other 4 were all new skills. Toru Watanabe was very interested in the master-level kickboxing. No man would not be interested, right? Even if he did not take the initiative to fight, it was better to be good at fighting than not good at fighting. As the saying goes, a gentleman hides his weapons. If someone did not offend him, he would not offend them. If someone offended him, he would have the confidence to take his life. There was also the cooking skill. According to the supplementary rules, it was enough to cook a good dish. He could also say goodbye to the shopping mall. If he could not finish it, he could take it to school for lunch and save a lot of money. Wait. Compared to saving money, it was more important to save points. What if there was a better skill next time? For example, kickboxing and kickboxing. Toru Watanabe really wanted the master-level kickboxing. He had enough reason to suspect that the game was tempting him to be a scumbag and work hard to earn points. On May 3rd, 7:00 p.m. Number of days signed in, Yoshimi Tamamo, 1 week. Player received a sign-in gift pack. Money 100,000. Charm 50% discount coupon. Player must have less than 10 charm and can only exchange 1 point. 1 point of charm was 10,000 points, and even with a 50% discount, it was still 5,000 points. He now only had 4,000 points left, and he still had to continue to exchange Ford Detector. Otherwise, he could exchange for 1 point and continue to pursue the road of Tokyo Handsome Man. May 6th, the first day of returning to school. In the morning class, whether it was the teacher or the students, there was a sense of impetuousness that had not yet broken away from the holiday life. At noon, the school bulletin board posted the monthly test ranking. "Shall we go and take a look?" Keisuke Saito said to the other two. "What's there to see about that kind of thing?" Osamu Kunai disdained. From the conversation between the two, it was possible to roughly estimate their usual ranking. Keisuke Saito had the ability to compete for the top 20 in the school. This was the number of people who were admitted to a first-class school in Kanagawa High School, and Osamu Kunai's name had to be found from the back. Toru Watanabe thought for a moment. "Let's wait for 20 minutes, there are too many people going now, we can't squeeze in." 20 minutes later, the lunch break would enter the second half. Whether it was the cafeteria, the bread shop, or the bulletin board, the crowd would disperse. "Okay." Keisuke Saito nodded in agreement, then took out his phone and shared a game with the other two. Osamu Kunai looked and said, "This game, I've been playing it, I advise you not to fall into the trap." Keisuke Saito asked curiously, "Why?" "I suspect it's fake. SSR isn't even in the card pool. You're just unlucky." Toru Watanabe laughed. "Nonsense. How could I be unlucky?" Osamu Kunai firmly believed that it was the game company's fault. "Oh right." Toru Watanabe thought of the family class. "Koi, how are you and Yamaguchi Naomi?" Osamu Kunai smiled proudly and shyly. "Hehe, we've been chatting online every day recently." "You bastard. Remember to treat us." Keisuke Saito punched him. "What treat? Are you trying to cheat? Didn't we agree on it? Whoever has a girlfriend will treat us." "No problem, no problem." Toru Watanabe was very quiet at this time. The thing between him and Yoshimi Tamamo shouldn't count, right? The three of them chatted for a while, then got up and went to the bulletin board on the first floor. There were still 3 or 4 students there. Toru Watanabe started reading from the front. Rank 1 name Rin Kyonoke. Rank 2 name Miki Kujo. Rank 3 name Toru Watanabe. Good. He kept his original ranking. He was working so hard, if he lost his ranking, he would have to go back to his hometown and kneel in front of his hardworking parents. Keisuke Saito was impressed. "That's amazing, Watanabe. If you can stay in the top 5, you can be recommended to enter Tokyo University in your 3rd year of high school." "I don't need a recommendation if I stay in this position," Toru Watanabe said casually. Keisuke Saito nodded. "That's true. What's your rank?" "I thought I did well, but I'm only 31st. I plan to go back and talk to my parents about enrolling in a cram school." Enrolling in a cram school in the 1st year of high school? If you fall 1 step behind, you will always fall behind. Teacher Koizumi also said, "The beginning is very important." Toru Watanabe nodded and looked at Osamu Kunai, who had been silent all this time. "Guijing, how did you do?" Osamu Kunai said with a sad face, 121st. There were 4 classes in the 1st year of high school, and each class had 40 students. 121st was considered low. Toru Watanabe patted him on the shoulder. "Don't give up. The 3 of us didn't do well this time. Let's work hard together and try to improve in the next exam." "You didn't do well." Osamu Kunai looked at Toru Watanabe angrily. His loud voice attracted the passers-by. "Guijing, during the Golden Week, I understood something. Humans have their limits. Don't you want to be human?" Toru Watanabe shook his head and said seriously, "As a handsome guy in Tokyo, even if I can't get 1st place, I have to keep improving. Only then will I be charming." Get lost. Chapter 11. After school, Toru Watanabe was called to the teacher's office by Aona Koizumi. Watanabe, do you know why the teacher is looking for you? Monthly test? It has nothing to do with that. You did very well, with a deviation of more than 74. I remember that you wrote Tokyo University in your entrance survey, right? Keep it up, it's completely fine, even if it's a science major. Koizumi, sensei, Tokyo University was my previous goal, but now I have a new dream. Do you want to go to Aoyama Academy, which has the most beautiful girls? No. Then Keio, which has the most handsome guys. Oh. Toru Watanabe said, I've decided to become a handsome guy in Tokyo. Aona Koizumi's lightly made-up oval-shaped face slowly revealed a puzzled expression. Ha 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 ha. The English teacher from the next class, Huang Zi, violently slapped Aona Koizumi's long legs under her skirt and burst into laughter. As expected, Aona, your student is really too interesting. Aona Koizumi took Huang Zi's hand away and asked Toru Watanabe with a wry smile and confusion. Handsome guy in Tokyo is a new profession? Sorry, I don't really understand the latest trend. To be precise, it's an attitude towards life, he replied. Attitude towards life? The two young female English teachers curiously waited for him to continue. Yes, Toru Watanabe explained. First, you have to be handsome enough. Yes. The two of them had no objections. Handsome guy in Tokyo, just by hearing the name, you knew that he had to be handsome. Second, always keep 30% of your mysteriousness to others. Huang Zi nodded in agreement. Men with a sense of mystery are very attractive to women. Toru Watanabe's actual meaning was that everything related to the game must be kept a secret, but Huang Zi's words were more or less the same. Third, do what you're supposed to do. What should I do? My identity is that of a student, so I have to work hard to improve my studies. As the child of my parents, I have to be filial to them and repay them for raising me. As a friend, I have to treat them sincerely. In short, I have to do what my identity is supposed to do, and not do things according to my preferences. Aona Koizumi agreed wholeheartedly. Watanabe, you're only 15 years old, but you already have such awareness. Teacher is very happy. Then he's living too hard. How can he be considered a handsome guy from Tokyo? Huang Zi had a different opinion. Don't Tokyo handsome men only need looks and money? No matter how beautiful a girl is, she won't be moved even if she is infatuated with him. Is that okay? That's just a playboy. Toru Watanabe shook his head. Teacher Huang Zi, it's hard being a handsome guy in Tokyo. Huang Zi laughed as he scolded. You little rascal, stop spouting nonsense. Go on, let me see what your Tokyo handsome guy is like. Tsukiko. Aona Koizumi was slightly dissatisfied. When speaking to students, pay attention to your words and tone. I know my Koizumi teacher. Watanabe classmate, please. From now on, you must have the confidence to do anything. For example, I'm not good at sports, but I believe that as long as I work hard for a month, I can do better than most people. After listening to these words, Aona Koizumi looked into Toru Watanabe's eyes and seriously educated him. Watanabe, having confidence is a good thing, but at the same time, you must have a humble heart. You can't look down on anyone. What's wrong with that? I feel very cool. Watanabe after graduation, let's go out, okay? Tsukiko. Aona Koizumi raised the textbook in her hand and looked like she was about to hit someone. Tsukiko exaggeratedly dodged and very indecently winked at Toru Watanabe with his right eye. Toru Watanabe acted as if he didn't see anything and continued to say, Koizumi teacher, a handsome guy from Tokyo must have this kind of confidence. Well, it's better to have confidence than not, but don't be arrogant. Education ends here. Tsukiko made a stop gesture with both hands. Watanabe, you just said from now on. Then there should be more, right? Toru Watanabe nodded. Finally, be mentally prepared to be stabbed at any time. I know this, I've seen Day on Campus. Day on Campus? What's that? Aona Koizumi was puzzled. Sakiko whispered something in her ear. And then Aona Koizumi, whose face was slightly red, rolled up the English textbook in her hand and gently knocked on Toru Watanabe's head. Not aloud. Her tone was so serious that it could even be said to be an order. Not aloud what? Toru Watanabe was baffled. His last point meant to be aware of danger. What did it have to do with day on campus? There were many unexpected things in life, such as betrayal, hatred, jealousy, which could happen at any time, and one must be prepared. That's all. Toru Watanabe did not want to continue wasting time after school, so he changed the topic of Tokyo handsome guys. Koizumi, sensei, why did you ask me to come here? Aona Koizumi waved to Toru Watanabe's back. Kiyono, sen, you come here too. Toru Watanabe turned his head. Except for her breasts, the beautiful girl Rin Kiyono was standing at the door of the office with her arms crossed. This was the first time Toru Watanabe saw her standing. Her slender legs and white indoor shoes were exposed under her pleated skirt. They looked so conspicuous. When did you come? He asked. Qing Yiren brushed his long hair behind his ear and smiled. First, second, third, and last. Haven't you been here since the beginning? Why don't you say something? Is disturbing others something that Tokyo handsome guys should do? Rin Kiyono had a half smile on her face. Why did you emphasize Tokyo handsome guys? Are you looking down on Tokyo handsome guys? That's my life. Tokyo handsome guys. Life. Rin Kiyono turned her face and shrugged her shoulders. Are you mocking me? Yes. Ah, what a straightforward and unreasonable answer. Could it be that Rin Kiyono really did not know how to lie? At the very least, white lies were necessary to make the world a better place, right? You can't cut everything with a knife. You're so close? Sensei can rest assured then. Aona Koizumi was gratified. I can never have a good relationship with this kind of man who lies all the time. Sensei, please don't misunderstand. Rin Kiyono said in a tone that said she did not care if she was misunderstood, but since they happened to meet, she might as well explain. Because Rin Kiyono did not know how to lie, her relationship with Toru Watanabe was really bad. After saying that, she acted as if nothing had happened and continued to talk to Aona Koizumi. Sensei, why did you call me here? Aona Koizumi looked at Toru Watanabe, as if she was still confused about their relationship. The literature and art department complained to the student council, and then the student council came to me as the consultant teacher of the human observation department. It's about the submission, right? Rin Kiyono asked, but her tone was very certain. Yes. Aona Koizumi nodded and sighed. Kiyono classmate, your article about the literature and art department being useless got first place in the voting. That's too much. Toru Watanabe said in a praising tone. Not only did she get first place, but she even scolded the organizers. More importantly, the organizers had no choice but to print this article in the journal. As expected of a beautiful girl with an intelligence of 8, who claimed to be able to see through all lies. Watanabe, you two. Aona Koizumi angrily looked at Toru Watanabe, who was watching the show. What about me? You're the future of US, got second place in the voting. You used the literature and art department's usual style of writing. Style of writing? You used the literature and art department's best style of writing to beat the literature and art department. What do you think? Toru Watanabe hurriedly said. It's a misunderstanding. It has nothing to do with me. The style of writing, I just read the literature and art department's journal before writing and was unknowingly influenced. Koizumi Aonai glanced at him with a look that said, you should go and explain this misunderstanding to the Ministry of Literature and Art. Let's see if they believe it or not. She had a headache. Now you know why they complained, right? You're not good enough, but you complained instead of working hard. Rin Kiyono snorted with a chuckle. Not only was she not angry, she even seemed to sympathize with the literature and art department. No one would say anything if the two of you used your normal strength to submit the article, but you were deliberately doing bad things. Tokyo handsome guys are bad guys. Huang Zi, who had prepared the lesson plan for less than 2 minutes, suddenly came to join in the fun and suddenly said this. Toru Watanabe was very angry that he was being criticized again, and again after finally finding his life goal. Teacher Huangzi, this is the minister's order. It has nothing to do with me. I'm innocent. And I already said that the style of writing was a misunderstanding. Kiyono classmate, please help me explain. You know that I'm not lying, right? Rin Kiyono covered her small and charming lips with her hand, turned her face, and her body trembled. Tokyo handsome guys. It seemed that Tokyo handsome guys were a very funny term to her. Aona Koizumi sighed helplessly. Such a young and beautiful person, because of this action, had the moving charm of a resentful woman. She said, the next activities of the Human Observation Department must be approved by me. The Literature and Art Department's matter will end here. Whatever. Rin Kiyono said indifferently. To her, getting first place in the essay was just a boring thing that took half an hour to write. She did not put in much effort in this matter, so it was cancelled. Oh. Toru Watanabe. What about the time he spent memorizing the faces and names of all the grade 1 students? Aona Koizumi did not care about his slightly pained expression, and took out a stack of test papers from the drawer. Just nice, I have something to ask of you. Chapter 12. Toru Watanabe took it and looked at it. It was a few monthly test answer sheets, and without exception, all of them failed. This is, Aona Koizumi explained. The teacher wants to ask you to tutor them. Impossible. Rin Kiyono flatly refused. Kiyono classmate, the teacher promises that this matter will absolutely not take up your personal time. You only need to help them with their studies during the club activities after school. Teacher, you don't need to say any more. Rin Kiyono used honorifics, and her refusal was even more firm. Aona Koizumi was helpless and could only look at Toru Watanabe. Watanabe, what about you? Toru Watanabe flipped through the answer sheets in his hand. There were only students from Class 1 and Class 4, and the English teacher of these two classes was Aona Koizumi. Teacher, he asked, are they willing to tutor? Although I didn't ask, but they are all good children, so they will definitely participate. Moreover, the school has already stopped their club activities, and the school has also stipulated that students who fail the makeup test will have their credits deducted, so there is no problem. In order to smoothly advance to the next level of Kanagawa High School, in addition to not failing midterm and final exams, they also have to check their credits. In addition to failing the makeup test, credits will also be deducted according to the degree of violation of the school rules. For example, if Toru Watanabe insisted on not joining a club, a lot of credits will be deducted. Also, if the fact that he worked overtime outside of school is exposed, his credits will also be deducted, and he will also have to write a self-reflection letter. Looking at it this way, failing the makeup test is indeed a very serious matter, but that is their own problem. Teacher, Kanagawa High School is indeed a school with a high deviation rate, but no matter where it is, there will always be people who give up and don't want to improve. Teacher believes that they are not. Aona Koizumi answered without thinking. The facts are right in front of you, Mr. Koizumi. Toru Watanabe flicked the answer sheet in his hand, making a pleasant sound. Koizumi Aonai slightly frowned her pretty thin eyebrows. Toru Watanabe continued. Other than the club special students, there's no reason for the students who can get into Kamigawa to fail the first monthly test. It's impossible for all of them to be specialized students. In other words, you gave up on studying. Guangzi interjected, thinking that he was smart. Toru Watanabe glanced at her. I prefer to call it choosing another life. Guangzi didn't notice the disdain in her eyes and joked. Oh, do you all want to be handsome guys in Tokyo? Pfft, soft laughter came from beside him. Rin Kiyono was too much. What was so funny about Tokyo handsome men? Toru Watanabe said discontentedly, Mr. Guangzi, I've already said that being a handsome guy in Tokyo is a difficult thing. At the very least, you have to keep improving your studies. These people obviously don't fit the criteria and chose another path. But, Guangzi said, I heard from your Koizumi that your results this time are still in third place. There's no improvement. It won't happen next time. Toru Watanabe gritted his teeth and said. Rin Kiyono said with a smile. Watanabe classmate, I understand your desire to improve, but people should know their limits. Give up. You can't beat me in terms of intelligence. Although I think it's imprudent to link grades with intelligence. Toru Watanabe couldn't help but admit. A beautiful girl with 9 points of charm was too beautiful. How could such an annoying smile be so likable? Damn it. Next time when I have points, I must increase my charm first. Seeing that this guy was so good-looking, Toru Watanabe decided to let him go this time. He returned the answer sheet to Aona Koizumi. Mr. Guang, forgive me for not being able to help. When it comes to studying, you still have to rely on yourself. Watanabe, hey, a female teacher using such a pitiful tone to a male student. What do you want? You're Mr. Guangzi's favorite student. You're hardworking, serious, and diligent. Can't you help me? Hardworking, serious, and diligent. These are characteristics, right? Toru Watanabe was unmoved. It sounded like she was lying to ask for his help. Aona Koizumi looked at the answer sheet in her hand. Maybe you're right. Among these students who failed, there must be some who chose another life. But Mr. Guang still hopes that they can pass the makeup exam smoothly, even if it's forced. Can you help Mr. Guangzi? Sorry. He still had to work. Even if he didn't work, why not use the time to study? Working hard to improve, constantly surpassing himself from the day before. This was what a handsome Tokyo boy should do. Aona Koizumi sighed as if she had given up. Then she struggled to raise her head and said without any hope. Kiyono classmate, you see, helping a student who failed the exam to get good grades, isn't it also worth observing? Rin Kiyono crossed her arms and touched her chin. She pondered. That's true. Seeing Rin Kiyono waver, Aona Koizumi stood up. She placed her hands on her knees and bowed to Rin Kiyono. Please help Mr. Guangzi, please. As a teacher, Aona Koizumi was without a doubt a model. Rin Kiyono thought for a while and nodded. Okay, since the Ministry of Arts has stopped, I have nothing to do. But I'll only be responsible for the worst student. Kiyono classmate, thank you so much. Aona Koizumi turned her head and looked at Toru Watanabe. Watanabe. Yes. Watanabe. Yes. Watanabe classmate. Toru Watanabe turned his head and looked out the window. You play the flute pretty well. It's much better than when school started. You can hear other things besides the music. Could it be that you're in love? Watanabe. Yes. Aona Koizumi massaged her temples. To think that Mr. Guangzi said in front of Kiyono classmate that you're my favorite student. Forget it, if you don't want to help, then hurry up and study hard. This way, Mr. Guangzi will feel gratified. Toru Watanabe breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, Rin Kiyono suddenly spoke. Watanabe classmate, Koizumi, Mr. Guangzi didn't lie. You're indeed her favorite student. Aona Koizumi, who was in her 20s, was embarrassed by this sentence. She quickly waved her hands. No, Mr. Guangzi likes every student. But the one she likes the most is Watanabe. Rin Kiyono stated with a smile. Kiyono classmate, Mr. Guangzi also likes you very much. I treat all students equally. It's just that Watanabe. Anyway, Mr. Guangzi won't be biased. Toru Watanabe glanced at Rin Kiyono, who was harboring evil intentions. Damn it, how could he refuse now that she said it like that? Mr. Guangzi, I'll also help, but I'll also only be responsible for one student. He opened his mouth. Aona Koizumi glanced at him, rolled up her English book, and gently knocked his head again. Cold guy. But there's no need. You don't want to do it, right? Study hard. Mr. Guangzi won't blame you for this kind of thing. Toru Watanabe touched the place where he was knocked. As a handsome high school student in Tokyo, helping a beautiful female teacher share her troubles is also something I should do. Watanabe. Guangzi picked up a stack of test papers. The class I'm responsible for also has. This clarinet is also not bad. Wait, this part is too emotional. I still need to think about it. You guy. See how I'll teach you a lesson. Guangzi picked up a thick English dictionary. You're not allowed to touch my students. Finally, Toru Watanabe and Rin Kiyono took the test papers of the students they were responsible for and left the teacher's office. I didn't expect you to help, Toru Watanabe said. Rin Kiyono studied the test papers in her hand one by one. Although Mr. Koizumi often lies, I don't hate her. Didn't you say you hate everyone? Are you contradicting yourself? Or are you lying? Use your handsome Tokyo brain and think about it. Do humans have the same feelings for other people? Also, stay away from me, the stench is getting to me. Finally, that was an oboe. They're both clarinets. You can almost say that they're the correct answers. Looking at Toru Watanabe's casual attitude, Rin Kiyono took a deep breath and put down the test papers in her hand as if she couldn't stand it. First of all, the shape, the fat is a single reed. The thin is a double reed. The big mouth is a single reed. The small mouth is a double reed. The one with a silver circle between the mouth and the key is a single reed. The one without is a double reed. Secondly, the melody, using words that you can understand, is a slightly strange single reed. If you still don't understand, I suggest you use your useless ears to listen to the last part of Pilgrim's Morning Symphony, or the last part of the first movement of Bei-Lu. Bei-Lu. Rin Kiyono took a deep breath slowly, and then slowly exhaled. She flipped her long hair and regained her elegance. I was rude. I actually made the same mistake as the ancients. Toru Watanabe was stunned. Wait, you're not talking about playing the lute to a cow, are you? Tokyo handsome? Heh. Rin Kiyono glanced at Toru Watanabe with extreme contempt and turned to leave. Her long black hair was like 0.5 millimeters of lead powder, the perfect slender waist, and the pleated skirt that swayed gently as she walked. The walkway was crowded with the sunset, and Rin Kiyono felt like she was walking off the stage of a fashion show. Toru Watanabe came back to his senses. Wait, this woman who had nothing but beauty and wisdom just said that he wasn't human. Chapter 13. There were still 2 hours before school ended. Toru Watanabe went back to the classroom to grab his backpack and went to the Human Observation Department's activity room. Koizumi, sensei said that she would bring the 2 students here. The setting sun shone from the Hilton Shinjuku Hotel and dyed the walls of the school red. The sound of the oboe mixed in with various other instruments still lingered in the school. Rin Kiyono was sitting on the side of the table by the window. She had the answer sheet spread out on the table and was carefully studying it. Although Toru Watanabe wanted to regain some face from being scolded, he decided to let it go. After all, as a handsome guy in Tokyo, it was inevitable that he would be scolded. Jealous people are everywhere in this world, aren't they? He sat on a steel chair far away from her, and also began to study the answer sheet in his hand. English. Looking at it carefully, it's just that he didn't memorize the key points and his vocabulary was probably not good enough. It's all very simple knowledge, but Japan's education system is lax. Many people will only seriously study it when it's time for an exam. There were a few students who did this kind of thing everywhere. Even Shunchuan High School, which was one of the top deviant schools, was no exception. The student named Kawaguchi Anta on the answer sheet is probably one of them. Toru Watanabe has some understanding of this boy from class 1. Thanks to the orders of the Human Observation Department's head, who has nothing but beauty and intelligence. Well, to be honest, he only knew her class, her name, and her appearance. Oh right, and he's not a member of the Literature and Art Department. But the Literature and Art Department has become a sad past, so he won't mention it again. 10 minutes later, Koizumi-sensei let a girl and a chubby boy into the Human Observation Department. Ah, it's Toru. Hello, in all of Eastern Kyoto, the only person who would directly call Watanabe by his name is his girlfriend, Yoshimi Tamamo. Toru Watanabe sized her up. Her skirt is slightly shorter than the other girls. The bow is loose and flirtatious. Her seductive lips are shiny. Who knows what is on it? Toru Watanabe did not like this style. It wasn't that he hated fashion. He had a good impression of fashionable girls, but there was a time, place, and target to like. High school students were naturally more pure. Now was not the time to talk about this, because Yoshimi Tamamo directly called his name. The atmosphere in the activity classroom was a little strange. Rin Kiyono revealed an arrogant smile, as if she was watching the drama unfold. Riverside Madam's chubby face did not conceal the jealousy in her heart, while Aona Koizumi looked back and forth between the two of them with slight suspicion. Che? Aona Koizumi confirmed. Toru Watanabe's impression of Yoshimi Tamamo was too unreliable. In order to prevent any accidents, he took the initiative to explain. Tamamo and I were in the same group in our family class. She's a very cheerful person. Toru Watanabe's unspoken words were, I'm not familiar with her. The only reason she called me by my name was because she was the type who could be called by anyone's name. I see. Aona Koizumi, who liked Toru Watanabe the most, immediately believed that there was no other relationship between the two of them. Rin Kiyono's beautiful eyes moved to the far left as she looked at Toru Watanabe with disdain. Yoshimi Tamamo reacted and laughed. Yes, that is indeed the case. Aona Koizumi nodded. Everyone, introduce yourselves. I'll go first. Yoshimi Tamamo raised her hand high. Her white shirt rubbed against her full breasts, creating beautiful creases. My name is Yoshimi Tamamo. My favorite things are singing, shopping, buying new clothes, and eating all kinds of desserts. After she finished her introduction, it was Toru Kawaguchi's turn. Under the gazes of the three people, he seemed somewhat uneasy and kept his head down. I am Toru Kawaguchi. I like to play games and read manga. Then it was the Human Observation Department's turn. Rin Kiyono. I like to read and be quiet. She paused for a moment and looked at Toru Watanabe. Rin Kiyono retracted her gaze and continued. This guy is Toru Watanabe, a man who lies all the time and calls himself a handsome Tokyo man. The other three people, including Aona Koizumi, all looked at Toru Watanabe. Yes, a handsome Tokyo man. He nodded affirmatively, then added modestly. But I'm just a beginner. I'm still working hard to grow. The three people's gazes became even more strange. Yoshimi Tamamo suddenly laughed. Toru is so interesting. Rin Kiyono hated this sudden loud voice and shot a displeased look at Yoshimi Tamamo. Yoshimi Tamamo ignored her and turned to Aona Koizumi. Sensei, who's in charge of helping me with my studies? It's Kiyono-san. Can you change it to Toru? I like to be with him. Aona Koizumi looked at Rin Kiyono with slight annoyance. As a teacher, she preferred boys to tutor boys and girls to tutor girls. However, Tamamo Tomomi had always been unwilling to tutor her. She had already spent a great deal of effort to convince her to come over, so she chose to try her best to satisfy this small request of hers. However, even if she was a teacher, she couldn't ignore Rin Kiyono's will. Rin Kiyono smiled indifferently. Sure, I'll be in charge of Toru Kawaguchi. Thank you. Aona Koizumi breathed a sigh of relief. That's great, Toru, you have to teach me well. Yoshimi Tamamo cheerfully jumped to Toru Watanabe's side, bringing with her a pleasant fragrance. Please advise me. Toru Watanabe smiled. Yoshimi Tamamo pouted. No need to say these things. Shouldn't our relationship be closer? Toru Watanabe smiled coldly. Aona Koizumi said. Then I won't disturb you. Good luck. Oh right, if you need to print something, feel free to use the printer in the classroom office. After that, only 4 people were left in the activities office. Toru Watanabe and Rin Kiyono exchanged answer sheets and looked at the score loss. Yoshimi Tamamo walked around the classroom. Sometimes she tried to rotate the globe with her fingertips. Sometimes she opened the window to see what was inside. Finally she found a steel chair and sat down next to Toru Watanabe. She chatted with the others on her phone. Toru Kawaguchi stood there restlessly. Several times she peeked at the classroom door, as if she was ready to escape. Toru Kawaguchi classmate. Rin Kiyono put down the answer sheet. Yes. Lower your voice. Yes. Rin Kiyono had a headache and rubbed her temples. For someone like her who liked to be quiet, this was a kind of torture. Today when you go back, memorize the contents of page 1 to 15 of your English textbook. If you don't understand, look it up in the dictionary, and then redo the test. What's the problem? I can't memorize it. Can't memorize it? Rin Kiyono was very surprised. Why? Toru Kawaguchi stood there without saying anything. Rin Kiyono frowned. I don't mean to blame you. You don't have to be afraid. If you're mentally handicapped, you can tell me and I'll help you think of another way. Toru Watanabe couldn't help but look up. He saw Rin Kiyono's serious face and didn't seem to be joking at all. This guy definitely doesn't have any friends, he thought to himself. Ha ha ha. Yoshimi Tamamo snickered. Toru Kawaguchi became even more restless. She still stood there without saying a word. Tamamo classmate, please keep quiet. Rin Kiyono's tone was cold. Sorry. Yoshimi Tamamo lowered her head and typed something quickly on her phone. Rin Kiyono looked at Toru Kawaguchi again. Why can't you memorize it? I'll memorize it. Toru Kawaguchi just wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. Unfortunately, he didn't know that Rin Kiyono could see through all lies. Even Toru Watanabe couldn't deceive Rin Kiyono with his mind-reading ability, let alone him. Rin Kiyono's face was expressionless. He was already used to other people's lies. You don't have to memorize it. Go back and copy what I just said 20 times. Bring it to me tomorrow. 20 times? Toru Kawaguchi's mouth was wide open. Isn't this corporal punishment? Yoshimi Tamamo said to Toru Watanabe. Che, you wouldn't do this to me, right? You're doing math and history. You don't need to memorize math. Just familiarize yourself with the formulas. You can understand history by reading manga. Toru Watanabe replied. Yoshimi Tamamo was unhappy. I hate doing math. Rin Kiyono ignored the two of them and said to Toru Kawaguchi. Is there a problem? Is it too much? Toru Kawaguchi's voice was very soft. If it wasn't for the fact that the activity classroom was crowded and everyone was not far away, it would be difficult to hear him clearly. Rin Kiyono looked at the clock at the back of the classroom. It's 4:30 now. You'll be home at 5 o'clock and go to bed at 11 o'clock. You have a total of 6 hours. 1 hour is for eating and bathing. You have 5 hours to use. There's plenty of time. After saying that, she added, if you don't want to copy, then memorize it. Choose one of the two. I'll memorize it. Toru Kawaguchi immediately said. Rin Kiyono pinched the bridge of his nose with his right hand. It seemed that he was sleepy. Toru Kawaguchi. Yes. I don't care if you can really memorize it or not. If you don't pass the test tomorrow, I'll ask Koizumi-sensei to call your parents to school. No. I can memorize it, but it's too much. Can't you memorize less? The makeup test is on the 10th. I can still memorize it every day. Come here after school tomorrow. Now get out. Toru Kawaguchi took his bag and left. Looking at his back, it was as if he was carrying a mountain. Toru Watanabe expressed his sympathy for him. Next, it was his and Yoshimi Tamamo's turn. Chapter 14. Toru Watanabe examined Yoshimi Tamamo's answer sheet again. He guessed that she would complete the teaching task that he assigned. It was impossible. If she could be so self-disciplined, she wouldn't have appeared in the activity classroom of the Human Observation Department. Toru Watanabe also didn't have the right to call a student's parents over like Rin Kiyono did. Could he only tutor her on the spot? If possible, he didn't want to talk to her or even meet her. He said, Tamamo, you lost the most points in history and world history, especially in the history of the Spring and Autumn War. It was completely destroyed. I say, sometimes I wonder, is there really a need to learn the history of other countries? Yoshimi Tamamo played with her hair with her fingers. It's the same for mathematics. What's the use of these things in daily life? If you don't engage in related research, it's indeed useless to talk about knowledge. Then why does the school still teach this? Yoshimi Tamamo's beautiful eyes stared at Toru Watanabe with dissatisfaction. It was as if he was the Minister of Education and Science who dictated the teaching materials. Toru Watanabe wasn't angry at all because he didn't care about her at all. He casually said, knowledge is useless, but memorizing knowledge points and solving problems can help train our brains and let us slowly learn how to grasp things systematically. The ultimate goal of learning, I think, is that one day in the future, When faced with new things, we will have the ability to understand them with our own hands without teaching or experience. This way, humans can continue to understand the world and enrich themselves. Using myself as an example, my dream is to become a handsome guy in Tokyo, so I need to constantly surpass myself. Mastering systematic learning methods and a trained brain can make things easier for me. Similar to self-learning foreign languages. That's about it. Yoshimi Tamamo thought seriously for about a minute, then asked in confusion. I've been thinking about it for a while now. I've been very concerned since the beginning. Aren't handsome guys from Tokyo, guys who rely on their looks, make a few jokes, and then reach under a girl's skirt? Toru Watanabe pinched the bridge of his nose as he felt a headache coming on. Rin Kiyono's cheerful laughter came from the side. He looked sideways and saw Rin Kiyono looking at the hardcover book in her hand. She whispered to herself, "This part is very interesting." It turned out that just because he never lied, it didn't mean that he didn't know how to hide a part of it and change the concept. What a cunning woman. He retracted his gaze and tidied up the answer sheets in his hands. It doesn't matter if it's useful or not. Just treat it as studying hard to pass the exam. But I don't want to do it. I hate doing it. It's not interesting at all. Toru Watanabe thought for a moment. I'll give you a question. Guess the questions. Yes. Toru Watanabe nodded. I've done all the test papers given by the teachers who set the questions. I'll give you questions according to their preferences. You only need to do one every day. I guarantee that Tamamo classmate, you'll get at least a B in the makeup exam. Can you really hit it? Can you do such a thing? Yoshimi Tamamo stood up. The steel chair made a harsh sound as it rubbed against the floor. Rin Kiyono frowned. Of course. Toru Watanabe smiled. She could feel a strong sense of confidence from his smile. My deviation value is 74. Koizumi, sensei said that I can get into Tokyo University. What do you think? Tokyo University doesn't give people a good impression. There's always a misconception that it's full of frustrated men and politicians. But you're telling a high school student. What if I choose Tokyo University as my target university? Or Tokyo University? Impossible. Impossible. It was impossible. You can't get in. Don't even think about it. Conclusion. You can look down on the appearance and character of Tokyo University, but you can't look down on their brains. That's about it. So when Yoshimi Tamamo heard that Toru Watanabe could get into Tokyo University, she immediately believed it. I feel that you're different from the last time we met, but forget it. She quickly put her face close to Toru Watanabe's and said, Toru, you'll give it to me, right? With the relationship between the two of us. Koizumi, sensei asked me to tutor you, so this isn't a problem. Toru Watanabe distanced himself from her. But after you finish the test, you still have to memorize the solution. Don't worry, if I don't memorize the answer, then cheating is meaningless. Cheating? Forget it, whatever you call it is. You have two choices now. One is to wait here and I'll give you today's test paper. Two is to go back immediately and do 2 sets of tests tomorrow. 2 subjects will make 4 test papers. I'll choose the second option. Kitsu-chan is still waiting for me. Yoshimi Tamamo picked up her school bag and rushed out of the activity room. I'll leave the test paper to you, Toru. The activity room returned to silence. Is this how handsome Tokyo guys cheat? I call it tactics. The two of them were talking about the test papers. It's only been a month since high school started. How much content can there be? 5 days, 1 test paper per day, is enough to memorize all the knowledge points. Yoshimi Tamamo was deceived by the top student and the test paper. Opportunistic people have always been like this, from ancient times to the present. But I have to admit that you're better than me at tutoring. Toru Watanabe looked at Rin Kiyono with some surprise. She didn't seem like someone who would admit defeat before he could say anything. Just like this, not being arrogant is also one of my strengths. The girl lifted her long hair and showed a friendly smile. Okay, you're the best in the world. Toru Watanabe picked up his school bag and prepared to leave. That's a lie. Do you think I'm not good enough? Just in case you don't understand my greatness because of your ignorance, I'll explain it to you. Only a person with noble character can admit that someone who's inferior to you is better than you in a certain aspect. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. Toru Watanabe felt that the other party was hopeless. Koizumi Sensei was so confident that she looked down on others. Hurry up and make her write a self-reflection letter. Rin Kiyono crossed her arms and rested her chin on her hand. Is this what you call playing hard to get? What a low-level trick. It's hard to believe that a woman would be deceived by this. Toru Watanabe walked to the door and turned around. Why do all my actions have to be based on improving your impression of me? You don't like me, but that doesn't mean you don't want to ravage my body. Rin Kiyono covered the collar of her shirt with one hand and pressed the hem of her pleated skirt with the other. To put it bluntly, men are such creatures. No ravaging and whatnot, I've never thought about it. Rin Kiyono showed the contemptuous smile of a victor. Her hands loosened the collar and skirt. She sat in a dignified manner and opened the hardcover book again. Remember to close the door. Damn it. Even if he really did unconsciously think about it, it wasn't a ravage in the sexual aspect, but an insult and trampling on his dignity. To be misunderstood by a woman as having thoughts about him. And the other party's high and mighty attitude was really infuriating. Toru Watanabe wanted to fiercely close the door of the activity classroom, but taking out his anger on an item wasn't something a handsome Tokyo man should do. If the game market refreshed the convenient medicine next month, he must let this woman who had nothing but beauty and wisdom have a taste of his power. Toru Watanabe gently closed the door. Chapter 15. Toru Watanabe leaned against the door of the tram and yawned. Last night, after giving Yoshimi Tamamo the test papers, he began to study advanced English. For someone like him who only has 3 points of stamina, this is not a small burden. He does not feel tired. Since yesterday in the office, he said that he wants to become a handsome man in Tokyo. He learned that every day before he goes to bed, he must be better than the last time he went to bed. He suddenly felt that the process of learning is a very beautiful thing. Doing what he is supposed to do is unexpectedly good. Next stop, Shirku Station, Shirku Station. He slightly pulled himself together, mixed in with the crowd, and walked out of the station. He walked up the ramp to Kanagawa High School. After Golden Week, the sun became a little warmer. The veins of the leaves on both sides of the ramp were illuminated by the sun. Sometimes, there would be a sudden gust of cool wind. Although it was the beginning of May, it felt more like an early summer day. After carefully listening to the morning class, he finished his lunch faster than usual. He said to Osamu Kanai and Keisuke Saito, "I'm going to the club. You guys take your time." "Oh, okay." During the morning class, the two already knew that he was entrusted by Aona Koizumi. Toru Watanabe went back to the classroom to get the test papers. He walked through the corridor between the school building and the department building, and arrived at the Human Observation Department. Rin Kiyono was eating alone. Toru Watanabe said sorry to disturb her. She just nodded and tasted the high-class dishes without changing the rhythm. After she finished eating, she put away the lunchbox. Toru Watanabe asked, "I plan to improve my English reading level. Are there any recommended novels? To become a handsome man in Tokyo? To become a handsome man in Tokyo." Rin Kiyono took out a white handkerchief from the hidden pocket of her pleated skirt and gently wiped her lips. After she finished wiping, she folded the handkerchief and put it back in her pocket. It was neat and tidy. There was no bulge. Toru Watanabe's eyes were fixed on the white handkerchief. He was curious about the Japanese's habit of carrying a handkerchief. Rin Kiyono picked up the hardcover book on the table, lowered his eyes, and carefully read the words. The early summer afternoon sun shone on the top of her head, and her long black hair fell on her shoulders, reflecting the light slightly. The conversation ended? What happened next? Forget it. Toru Watanabe retracted his gaze and glanced at the clock on the wall. 20 minutes had passed since the lunch break. Why wasn't Yoshimi Tamamo here yet? He hated people who weren't punctual the most. Just as he was starting to get impatient and slightly angry, he suddenly remembered that he only said that he had to do 4 test papers today, But he didn't ask the other party to come in the afternoon. It was just his one-sided belief that the other party would make the best use of the afternoon. The impatience and anger that had just risen in Toru Watanabe's heart immediately disappeared, and he began to reflect on himself. If Yoshimi Tamamo just opened the door and came in, his tone wouldn't be very fierce, but it would still be a little bit dissatisfied. But the other party was holding the idea of, look, I'm so active that I sacrificed the lunch break to study, or something like that to be praised. Once he did that, it would have dampened the other party's enthusiasm to study. Next time, no matter what, he had to explain it clearly and not take it for granted. In addition, before he got angry, he must reflect on himself and make sure that it wasn't his fault. With the idea of punishing himself and making himself remember this lesson, Toru Watanabe sat in the activity room, looked at the 4 test papers, and did all of them in his mind. The bell that signaled the end of the lunch break woke him up from the test papers. Toru Watanabe sorted out the test papers with satisfaction. This time, I've improved compared to the last time. I'm only 15 years old now, and there are still 3,650 days before I turn 25. It's hard to imagine how great I would be at that time. I should be a perfect Tokyo handsome guy, right? Put away that disgusting smile of yours. Toru Watanabe looked at Rin Kiyono with dissatisfaction. I'm not smiling. You're smiling. I've had this expression since I was born. I'm not boasting, but I've never cried. Have you finally lost your mind and become so crazy that you're talking nonsense? My family has a mental sanatorium. The environment is good, and there are also small animals. Since you're a member of my club, I can let you stay for free. Thank you for your kindness, but I'll keep it for myself. Toru Watanabe got up and was ready to leave. Here. This is. Remember to return it to me when you're done. Toru Watanabe watched Rin Kiyono leave the club classroom and looked down at the hardcover book in his hand. He opened it from the middle, and it was all in English. He closed the book, and the title on the cover was The Great Gatsby. The Great Gatsby, he whispered. Was this a follow-up to his question about what to read to improve his English reading level? What? Didn't you already have a good impression of me? Unfortunately, I really hate you. But since you lent me the book, I'll let you go next time even if I have convenient medicine. Toru Watanabe weighed the book in his hand with satisfaction. The hardcover book was very heavy. In the afternoon, it was the damn physical education class. He joined the second class, and the program was a 15-minute run around the playground. 3 minutes later, the girl and the boy met. So weak. She said. You're not bad either. He praised. For the record, she took a deep breath. I don't want to. If I want to, I'll take first place in the marathon. She took another deep breath. There's no problem. The 4th rule of Tokyo Handsome is have the confidence to do anything. He swallowed hard. Do you think I can't take first place in the marathon? He swallowed hard. I can't do it. Liar. I Watanabe never lie. Ha. After that, the two of them didn't speak. They just competed in silence. Sometimes they were in front, sometimes they were behind, and most of the time they were jogging side by side. 15 minutes later, Toru Watanabe was lying on the shiny green lawn, looking at the blue sky. He decided to start exercising tomorrow. Watanabe, you're too weak. Osamu Kunai's mocking laughter sounded in his ear. Do you want to wash your face in the pool? Keisuke Saito invited him. Toru Watanabe covered his eyes with his arms. Don't worry about me. After the two of them left, he lay down and wanted to move, so he sat up. He moaned and twisted his waist and neck. When he turned around, he saw Rin Kiyono doing relaxing stretching exercises alone in the distance. After a while, a few girls walked over and said something to her. After she shook her head coldly, the girls walked away. After returning to the classroom, he took off his sportswear and put on a shirt and trousers. After the last class, Toru Watanabe urged Yoshimi Tamamo to finish 4 test papers in the activity room. She was very cooperative and was immersed in the scam of checking the test papers. Toru Watanabe's absence from work was not in vain. Of course, it wasn't because of Yoshimi Tamamo, but because of Koizumi, who liked him the most. After taking a shower at night, he began to read the hardcover book Rin Kiyono lent him on the low table in his rented apartment. There was a short English sentence in the foreword. He first looked it up in the dictionary and tried to translate it. Then he looked it up on his phone and compared it with the translation. The general meaning of the sentence was frowny face then wear a golden hat. If it can move her, if you can jump high, please jump for her, until she shouts. My dear lover, the lover who wears a golden hat and jumps high. I must have you. This sentence is saying that moving a woman, no doing anything, will naturally become easier after you have fully perfected yourself? Toru Watanabe nodded thoughtfully. He felt that his knowledge had increased again, whether it was the matter of attracting women, or the accumulation of English vocabulary. This is only the foreword of a book. At this rate, even without the system, I, Watanabe, am destined to be amazing, he said proudly. You have a new email. Chapter 16. Temporary event. In the future, at 9:12 p.m. On May 10th, the unknown girl will be surrounded by 3 men and hide in an alley. Click to start navigation. Event content. Rescue the unknown girl. Event time, before 10 p.m. On May 10th. Event restriction. Players must rely on themselves for this event. Calling the police, calling friends or other means to increase the number of players are prohibited. Click to view details. Event reward. 100,000 points for encyclopedic knowledge. 10% discount coupon for free. After spending money to find a girlfriend, would the next event be a hero saving a damsel in distress? Toru Watanabe began to organize his thoughts. First of all, supplementary provisions. 253. Temporary event reward is the same as the difficulty factor. The encyclopedic knowledge was worth 100,000 points, and there was also a 10% discount coupon. Although Toru Watanabe had only experienced the temporary event once and didn't have much experience, he didn't think it would be easy this time. The main reason why it wouldn't be easy was because of the additional event restriction compared to the previous event of deceiving Rin Kiyono once. But from this point, it could be inferred that if calling the police was allowed, the event would be very easy. In conclusion, although it would be difficult to rely on his own strength, the possibility of completing it was not small. Secondly, there was the personal risk. The event of deceiving Rin Kiyono once was a verbal confrontation. The only consequence was that he was hated by the other party and the beautiful girl said, "You stink me." This degree of psychological damage was not worth mentioning, but there was no guarantee that this mission would be free of physical damage. However, Toru Watanabe looked at the healing potion in the system shop that cost 1,000 points. This hooligan event, no matter how dangerous it was, would he be beaten to death on the spot? Although he hated being beaten, it was worth it to exchange for the encyclopedic knowledge. That would be of great help to the road of Tokyo handsome man. Also, if he didn't know, then forget it. But since he knew, how could he sit back and watch the girl being violated? Toru Watanabe decided to accept this mission. Then, in order to avoid being beaten, he had to do some preparation work. He spent 1,000 points to exchange for 100,000 points, and used a 0.5mm automatic pencil to write in his notebook. Taser gun, pepper spray, alarm, recording pen, folding knife, metal baseball bat, crossed out, alloy steel extendable baton. The baseball bat was too flashy, and it was not easy to use. There was a possibility that it would be snatched away by the other party. The Japanese man was definitely more familiar with baseball than him. Moreover, in terms of strength, Toru Watanabe was very confident that he was definitely weaker than the other party. Finally, the incident occurred at night. Toru Watanabe added on the notebook, strong flashlight. I've never bought these before, and I don't know if 100,000 yuan is enough. Toru Watanabe logged into Amazon with his mobile phone and placed orders one by one. Because he was buying cheap goods, he still had some left over from the 100,000 yuan. There was also no need to worry about the logistics. If he placed an order today, he would be able to get everything tomorrow, as expected of Eastern Kyoto. After doing this, Toru Watanabe continued to watch The Great Gatsby. It was very difficult to read. The words were easy to speak and most of them were recognizable. The rare words that occasionally appeared were not difficult for the English dictionary. However, the sense of language, rhythm, and details of the original English novel required a certain degree of cultural heritage. If Toru Watanabe had only wanted to brag that he had read the English version of The Great Gatsby, he could have just swallowed it. However, he had opened the book with the intention of learning and improving his ability. Naturally, he could not just glance at it and be done with it. He read very slowly, but at the same time, he was very happy. The slower it was, the more it proved that he was not good enough. When he was able to read smoothly, it meant that he had improved compared to when he first started reading the book. If he kept this mentality and continued to work hard, even if this event failed, even if there was no game system, he could still become the Tokyo handsome guy. However, he would be a fool if he did not use what he had. He suggested going to Rin Kiyono's mental hospital for free. The scenery there was good, and there were also small animals. The next day after school, Toru Watanabe went to the Human Observation Department. After a simple greeting with Rin Kiyono, he sat on the steel pole chair and read a hardcover book while waiting for Yoshimi Tamamo to arrive. The sound of instruments from the ensemble in the distance, the crisp sound of baseball being played on the field, and the sound of pages being turned were very clear. The activity classroom was very quiet. The third person to come to the activity classroom was Yuta Kawaguchi. He stood near the door, like a little pig being sent into a tiger's cage. Adup. Some upset. No uneasy. How to spell. Up. Go back and copy everything 30 times today. Give me a little more time, please. I really know how to memorize. I know how to memorize. Little Pig desperately tried to explain to the tiger, trying to survive. Get out. The tiger pressed him to death with its paw. Little Pig used his school uniform to wipe the sweat on his forehead. When he left this world, his back was very lonely. Toru Watanabe sympathized with him. However, he had been copying for 2 days, a total of 40 times. If he still did not know how to memorize, he could only say that he did not put in the effort. Of course, it was also possible that he was too nervous and his mind was blank. Facing a beautiful girl like Rin Kiyono, who would not be nervous for a normal young boy. However, this had nothing to do with him. Hello Che, Yuta Kawaguchi had not left for more than 2 minutes. The activity classroom door had not even opened yet, but Yoshimi Tamamo's voice was already heard. Have you memorized yesterday's questions? Yes, hurry up and give me today's test paper. Toru Watanabe passed the test paper to her. Yoshimi Tamamo started to solve the questions seriously. She was like those students in university who got the scope of the exam. Each of them seemed to have taken advantage of it. Even if they had to stay up all night, they would still memorize the knowledge points. They did not feel that they were suffering at all. This was also the application of Lu Xun's theory of opening a window. Yoshimi Tamamo did not want to study seriously. The teacher wanted her to memorize all the knowledge. She was not willing. However, Toru Watanabe said that she only needed to memorize the part of the general exam. She happily accepted. While Yoshimi Tamamo was doing the test paper, Toru Watanabe and Rin Kiyono were reading in silence. At 5 o'clock, Toru Watanabe finished grading Yoshimi Tamamo's test paper. Why did I make so many mistakes today? She was dissatisfied. Because when school started, you studied seriously for a while. Later you relaxed. Of course, you didn't remember the rest of the knowledge points. Toru Watanabe did not say this out loud. I'll teach you a way, he said. Way? What way? Yoshimi Tamamo tilted her head cutely. Write down the knowledge points you need to memorize today, the types of questions, and the steps to answer them on a sticky note. Don't look at it under normal circumstances. When you have dinner with your parents or when they ask you to run errands or do other things you don't want to do, take it out and look at it for a while. Also, I promise you that as long as you finish the test paper I gave you, not only will you pass the makeup exam, but you'll also get good grades. When that happens, your parents will think that you've been studying seriously. Not only will they not blame you for not helping out at home, but they might even give you more allowance. Yoshimi Tamamo's eyes sparkled under the contact lenses. I can get more allowance? Women who liked money were really naive. Of course, Toru Watanabe said affirmatively. But you have to get good grades. This way, not only will you get more allowance, but you can also let the teachers and students know that Tamamo classmate just doesn't work hard. If you're serious, you can get better grades than the top students in a week. This is very easy for Tamamo classmate because you have a deviation value of 74. I'll give you this. Toru Watanabe waved the test paper in his hand. The test paper. Yoshimi Tamamo excitedly answered. That's right. Toru Watanabe began to explain the test paper, and Yoshimi Tamamo took notes seriously. You don't have to take notes in such detail. This is equivalent to the exam answers. You only need to remember a small part of it, and you can easily pass. Is that true? Can it really be that good? Of course. Toru Watanabe affirmed again. I had to take a new test paper with the teachers, and they didn't do as well as I did. Do you think what I said is accurate? Isn't it bad to just memorize the answers? Won't people say that I cheated if they found out? Yoshimi Tamamo was embarrassed. Toru Watanabe held back his laughter and corrected her. This is the test paper. How is this cheating? Yes, it's the test paper. Their lesson went smoothly. Yoshimi Tamamo originally wanted to continue to take notes seriously, but Toru Watanabe told her that full marks are too exaggerated. We should keep a low profile. So, she only took down what Toru Watanabe told her to. And these were the questions that Toru Watanabe really believed would be tested. After Yoshimi Tamamo left, Toru Watanabe put the hardcover book in his bag and prepared to leave the school. Don't you feel guilty about lying at all? Rin Kiyono suddenly asked. I'm sorry to disappoint you. Not only do I not feel guilty, I don't even think that it's a lie. In my heart, only lies have negative consequences. What I said to Yoshimi Tamamo just now, I think of it as encouragement. I see. Rin Kiyono looked at the book in her hand and didn't say a word. Toru Watanabe looked at her for a while, and after confirming that the conversation was over, he turned around and prepared to leave. Toru Watanabe, you're hopeless. Kiyono-san, you're the one who's sick. He closed the classroom door. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.